Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family.
I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Matt, we are finally back for another episode. It feel like it's been a while. We had some issues kind of leading up to this episode, but we were able to make things happen. But we're here. We're ready. We're ready to go.
Yes, we are. It has been a while. You know what? To be honest, it feels like it's been a hot minute since we've had like a traditional normal episode.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's true.
And by that I mean like we at the beginning of the year we did a lot of Oscars awards coverage, and then as soon as we were done with that, we moved in and we had Stev on, which was last week's episode, and we had a good time with him, and we talked about Scream 7 and Ready or Not 2, but it wasn't our traditional format. I feel like it's been, I guess, 3 months since we've gone into that, which is, the nature of the beast. We wanted to cover certain things. The award season, getting back on track. When we have a guest on, we have a little bit different flow. But now it's back to you and me, sir.
It is.
And just putting it out there right now. Look at the timestamps. You're looking for something specific because we got a lot to talk about. So I'm telling you, like we said, it's been 3 months. We got a lot of things we've been watching. We got a little bit of news we want to talk about that I don't think we've discussed news all year.
Yeah, and even still, we're like, what are the highlights? Like, what are the couple things that actually matter happening in the news world?
Exactly. So we'll be diving into that. Also, like we typically do every year. This happened about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks. At least three. I'll say about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But Ernesto and I have both went to MegaCon, and we always like to talk about our experience at MegaCon because it's a big nerd convention that happens here in Orlando, and we try to go every year, and we always had a good time. So we like to talk about our experience with that. But most importantly, we got a movie we're going to be talking about today, and not just any movie. It's probably, as of right now, one of the biggest movies that's in theaters right now, and that movie is Project Hail Mary, starring Ryan Gosling, Sandra Hüller, and James Ortiz as the voice of Rocky. Directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Those are the directing duo behind 21 and 22 Jump Street, the Lego Movie, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and also the writers behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What I find interesting that these two directors directing this movie is that it feels like it's the first like movie, if that makes sense. Like if you look at their filmography, a lot of animation, and when they dip into live action, it's mainly comedy. And like they're also responsible for The After Party, which was a series on Apple TV, and then there's also some other like episodes that they directed in the comedy world. But this one feels like this is blockbuster movie material. And
that's a good point.
And so I like to talk about their transition into that. And also, they're not no stranger to movies making a lot of money. The Spider-Man movies have been immensely popular. So in a way, I'm really happy for them to finally get like their chance to like, here's what we can do making a big movie. And also just for those who might forgot, they were also attached to write and direct the Solo, a Star Wars story movie, the Han Solo movie, that they were deep in pre-production before Disney and them got creative differences, and they moved on with Ron Howard to continue the movie moving forward. But I believe they got writing credit and producing credit for the movie at the end of the day. But they spent a lot of their career working in that movie as well. The movie is also written by Oscar nominee Drew Goddard, who has been in the world of sci-fi for a lot of years. He was behind Cloverfield, Cabin in the Woods, World War Z, The Martian, Bad Times at El Royale, and the creator behind Netflix's Daredevil and ABC's High Potential that is currently on ABC right now. The big title that he's written on is The Martian, which is basically from the same author as Project Hail Mary, which is the book this is based on the 2021 novel of the same name by Andy Weir, who was also the same author as The Martian. So I guess Andy Weir and Drew Goddard had a great working relationship when they were working on The Martian. They said, you know what, let's do this again in Project Hail Mary. And also, I rewatched The Martian because of all the hype, and I wanted to also something else to compare it to. So when we dive into our spoiler review of Project Hail Mary, not only are we going to be talking about the movie, but we're also going to be talking about the book. Ernesto and I had a chance, not really had a chance, we decided to also read the book as well. And so we have, needless to say, a lot to talk about when comparing the movie to the book. We have, like we said, we have a lot of things we're going to be watching. It's been a hot minute since we had a nice conversation about other things we've been watching. We got to do that. We got to do news. We can do MegaCon. Look at those timestamps on the bottom of our description if you're looking for something specific. But we always encourage you, hey, if you love the whole show, stick around. You're going to be in for a good one.
Go along for the ride.
Go along for the ride.
Uncle Roger says it's fun.
It's a good time.
It's a good time.
Trust me, I listen to them once a year.
All right, well, let's kick it off. Let's start with MegaCon this year. I mean, so originally we were not going to go this year. That was kind of like our thing, you know.
I remember that. You were like, you know what, we're going to skip this year.
We just had the baby. And then my wife's like, oh, all the Lord of the Ring cast is going to be there? You know what? We're going this year. So then it went from not going the 4 days to kind of packing it in the past 2 days. And I was like, well, if we're going, then I can't miss out on my opportunity to meet Scott Snyder. I also met Jim Lee. I also had the chance to meet again. Oh my gosh, his name escapes me.
Frank Miller?
Greg Capullo, excuse me.
Oh, Greg Capullo.
So Scott Snyder I did the Greg Capullo Scott Snyder experience where you get a meet and greet with them, you can get a couple of things signed, and then I also did Jim Lee, and I mean, what an amazing panel. For those who don't know, like in the comic book world, Absolute Batman and basically the DC's Absolute Universe is basically bringing comic books back to life. Like it's like this, they have crazy increase of sales. Like I think Absolute Batman, it's on its 12th or 11th reprint. Like they just keep reprinting it because of how massively popular these series are. And like it was just such an honor just to listen and hear him talk about just the creative process and kind of the direction they're going forward. And I'm just so excited. And he has no plans on like ending his run. So he goes, we have the arc planned out to like issue 50 pretty much. So that's like the next couple years. I mean, we're coming up and we have a big issue 20 is where it's going to be the premiere of Absolute Robin. So that's like a big marker point in the story that's coming up. And actually, just recently, they just revealed the real cover. And the Robins, you have Absolute Batman standing in the forefront. And then you have like 3 or 4 Robins in the background, but they're in like Megazord suits. So it's like, what does that mean? So it's just like, they're just doing so many things creative. They're taking like certain elements from the Batman story, but they're totally doing their own thing in this Absolute Universe. And I feel what's great about the Absolute Universe is that it's like, it kind of takes away the hope that regular comics have, where it's like, oh, this person's going to die, they're going to come back, and it's always a good guy wins, where this Absolute Universe is like is ruled by Omega energy from Darkseid. So it's like, it's just all darkness and despair. It's like, there's barely any superheroes. Like Batman's a badass. He kills people. He has like his symbol's a little bit different. It's because he has a battle axe that he like chops people up with. It's pretty fucking crazy. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but needless to say, like they were there kind of promoting that, and it was just great to hear on that. And kind of Jim Lee, who's the president of DC Comics, just to kind of listen to him, just kind of be in his presence. Like he's just such a massive figure and part of the experience. I have some other stuff that it's getting graded, so unfortunately I don't have it, but I got this as part of it. It's a print of his art, and he actually signed it. You can kind of see it. It's right here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I see it.
You can
You
a
get
good
the
angle.
glare. Yeah. There you go.
There it is. So, art signed by Jim Lee. I also have a comic book which he did a cover for the New 52 run. So it's a Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo comic book from their from Batman New 52, but Jim Lee did a cover for it. So I actually have a comic book that has all three of their signatures on it. So I'm really excited about that one. That one I'm probably I'm the most excited for. But my wife had this Lord of the Rings magazine from like 1978, and she got the Hobbits to sign it. John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli, the troll in Lord of the Rings. Orlando Bloom, who plays Legolas. Liv Tyler. Carl Urban. Liv Tyler. I would have loved to have met Carl Urban. I was so wrapped up in my experiences. I actually missed out on Brendan Fraser, Carl Urban, and Sam Williams.
Sean Austin.
Sean Austin. Yeah, I would have loved. Those are I really wanted to meet. Like I was so blessed that I got to meet Elijah Wood, because he was just like, as you meet somebody and they're just so naturally engaging, like. Mm-hmm. And that you can feel authenticness from them. Like you can tell, like, they're actually giving you their time. So that's what's really great. Is like a lot of these experiences, like when you go up and you get a signature, it's not just like, here's your thing, goodbye. Like they're very rare that those happen. Like, especially like, so, okay, let me backtrack. Those experiences are great. Elijah Wood, you got up there, you can talk to him, you're having a conversation with him. My experience with Orlando Bloom was the few experiences that I was talking about. And I actually had him hyped up for me, because when I go and get things signed, we have people who follow us around, so that, for grading, you usually have a witness that comes with you. They're like, oh, Orlando Bloom is great. He's so, like, he's just such a good person to meet. And like, we can't wait to meet him again. So what it seems like, I don't know whether it was MegaCon or the people who run the event or the people selling tickets, somebody clearly oversold what they needed him to do. My ticket was like, be there at 6:45 or 6:30, and we got there at like 5 o'clock. I'm like, we'll get in line early. They let us in. It was fine. He was still behind doing group photos with Liv Tyler. They already said, hey, he's running 30 minutes behind or 45 minutes behind on photos. That turned into like 4 hours. So the con closed at, I believe it's 7 o'clock. We didn't go inside, and we were in the VIP like fast line until like 7:30, and he had like 4 rows of queue plus wrapped around outside the gated area that they had already set up for him with the line going down. And it just,
wow.
So I going in, I was like, wow, like I just feel bad for him. Like you just did this all day, you're going no break, and that's not including the panels and all the other shit that they had him signed up for. But this one chink caused this like chain effect that it was like I just felt for him. But when I got in there, like I still want to have my experience, and I don't need to have like it doesn't need to be like, let's go to dinner together, like shake my hand, whatever, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to be that. But like it was a very quick, and the problem is that the person in front of me, they didn't like how he signed their thing. He signed it in like the wrong color, and to be fair, it was like it like matched the background. You could barely see the signature. So they asked him to do it, but you could feel his annoyance when he had to deal with that situation. But then he transferred that to me. He's like, have a good day. I was like, enjoy your work. It was really good to meet you. I mean, this is a big ticket person. Like, we paid money to meet him, and it felt like a very underwhelming experience. But I was like, okay. And when I said that, like he actually looked at me, and I think he could feel my like dissatisfaction, because he like tried to say something to me, but I was like already walking out the door. It's whatever. But then I look at the line, I was like, it's not his fault. They clearly fucked him in a very big way, and he's gonna be here for a really long time, because it was like almost 8 o'clock by the time I got out, and they hadn't even started the regular line yet.
Yeah, and what's sad too is that Orlando Bloom was only available for that one day.
Yeah.
He was only there for Saturday, so they were, like you said, they were probably trying to pack a lot of punch into that particular a lot of stuff for him to do in that one day, whereas some other celebrities that were there, sometimes they get a Saturday and a Sunday, or if you're fortunate enough, you get all 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or if the con's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So like you can spread out like what they do. Like, okay, well, they're doing a panel on Friday, they're doing the photos on Saturday, they're doing, all the
Yeah.
autographs all day. So like it's spread out a little bit where they're not trying to cram everything in one day. So it sucks to hear that, but like your point, like you said, you kind of understand it. And at the end of the day, you got what you wanted, but it's not really the experience you were hoping for.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like I walked out of there and I said that was a bad experience. But then I turned around and looked at the line. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I get it. I understand that they have to push people through in it, but when you're paying, there needs to be some sort of limitation. If you're paying,
Absolutely.
if you're gonna pay a certain amount of money to meet somebody, you're paying for an experience. I'm not paying for you to rush people through. Like, then you need to stop selling tickets at a certain point. Like at a certain point, your tickets sell out. So if this is what you put out, then your threshold needs to be lower because that's not fair to the people who are paying their hard-earned money to meet this person. And it's not his fault because he doesn't handle all that. I'm assuming he has a business manager that takes care of all that shit. He doesn't do that shit himself. He's probably told, show up here, you're gonna have this amount, this and that, like you're gonna have a good experience. And he probably wants to give people what their value. Because at some point he could have been like, I can't do anymore, just refund these people, I'll leave. But it seems like he decided to stay there and make good on the people who are sitting there waiting for him to make good on that. So he was just gonna push through. But I could just I just felt for him. And then I actually heard people were comparing it to, I guess there was one year when Hayden Christensen came and it was a very similar situation. And that he was there signing to almost like 1 or 2 in the morning. Like, I mean, this is just
that's insane.
That's crazy.
If that's true, that's insane.
But the girl who was with me saying that, we were here and they had like pushed us to a side room. Like we had to get off the main show floor. And then you just kind of did the signings in there. And then, she was like, we left at like 10 or 11, but there were still a lot of people here. I said, that's too much. Like that, there's a point where you've devalued the product. You've oversaturated. Like that's too much.
Especially
too
if
much
you're a headliner
him.
like that.
Exactly. And then that's too much for the person. Like they're just going to sit there and sign after a while. Like for them, it becomes like, I don't know. I don't know what the right word for it is, but it definitely, it doesn't feel as valuable when you have that experience and you're paying so much money for, especially some of these headliners like Hayden Christensen or Orlando Bloom.
But again, to your point, like they're only there for the day, so you have to get time allocated for like their photographs, the photos, and like then you have the solos, the pairings, the group photos, and then it goes into the panels, and then if they even have any time, you want to take a break, and then in the mix of all that, you're going back to your booth to sign more autographs. So like even for the people who are waiting in line, they were probably there since the beginning of since the event started. But then when you look at his schedule, it's like, well, he's got to be here, here, and here, so he's not even going to be around for these hours. And then you come back toward the end of the night, and then you get what you get. It's rough because you do want a good experience. You're spending a lot of money for it, and this is like the downside when it comes to some of these cons. It's just that's why a lot of people don't like even like some of the big ones like MegaCon. They attract a lot of big artists and a lot of big creators, but sometimes it just doesn't equal to the experience because there's just so many big things. A lot of people like the smaller cons, even though they don't have the bigger names. But you get a more personable experience, and these actors and creators are not worn down by the end of the day when you meet them, and you have like a more pleasurable experience. And then what's funny, you kind of have the opposite effect where you have like maybe the actors who are not as popular, and they're just sitting there all day with no one going to them, and then you want to go in there for your experience, and because they've just been bored and bogged down all day, like you might not get the reaction you're looking for. Other times you get the alternative and like, oh, thanks for meeting me, man. You want to have like a 20-minute conversation, no one else is here. And then you're like, stuff like that. So like it really depends on it's truly an expectations game when it comes to these conventions. You got to know what you're looking for, but you also have to, have the realization that like, what do you want out of this, and manage those expectations. Because if you're just looking for an autograph, at least you got that. That's what you paid for. Or if the photo, that's what you paid for. And the experience is all what you built up in your head.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you always want a good experience, but you are also paying for the one thing, and you got to remember you are one of thousands that they're doing this for. So having your special moment comes quick. You got to have like your 30 seconds, and if it's a photo, your 5 seconds.
But I think that's what's so funny, because like you have these headliners who charge so much and you get this quick experience, whereas conversely you have these other maybe not as big, or they're there all weekend and they're just at their booth. They're not really doing any of the main big panels, and they charge way less, and you can have like this really deep conversation or really deep experience with this other person. You know, it's interesting, but I guess it's all on the value that we put on it, you know?
Yeah. And I've had a lot of great experiences in the past. And I've had not so great experience, and it's just part of it. And then at the end of the day, you cherish the ones that you do have a good experience with, and that's what makes it worth it, you know?
Yeah.
I think conversely, we are nerds of all things movies and TV. And so we want to translate that passion, and we go to these cons for it, because not only are the creators and the actors are there at these conventions, but there's a lot of stuff for sale that is also pertaining to your needs as well. And that gets dangerous.
It does. it does. You have to go in there, but you have to go in there with a limit. You got to like, all right, I saved this year for this. This is my budget going in. And then it just kind of depends on the situation and what happens when you walk out.
Yeah, you're not. I have a little bit of show and tell as well. We did spend quite a bit as well here. I got a few things signed, and one of which I thought would be a really cool signature to get. But I also already got my glass case for it as well. But it's the original voice of Kratos, and he it's different from the version who's on the God of War and the God of War Ragnarok. God of War 1, 2, and 3. And was a different voice actor, and he was the original. And I've had this pop for years, and I've always said it would be really cool to get like the original voice of Kratos to sign this. And sure enough, he was there. He's also the voice of Mace Windu in the Star Wars Clone Wars series. So this was a really cool one to get. And again, to your point, this was a $60 signature. And I didn't really get that much out of it as far as the signature itself. He was old. He had a line. I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I'm doing good. Thanks for asking." He signed my thing, and he said, "Have a good day." And I said, "No problem." Like, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, I got what I really wanted, which was this. I wasn't expecting much of interaction. If we did, it's just a bonus for me.
Yeah.
Now,
That's true.
an experience that I was kind of in proxy of, that I think I had a really good time just being there in the room for, was the other one that I also got signed. The other pop that I got signed for this. I'm gonna get in a second.
Okay.
And this is the man, the myth, the legend. This is Brendan Fraser. That only was the pop a mission to find, because this is not an easy one to find, apparently. And I actually found it at the con. We found it. Yep, there you go. Now we're twins.
You and Megan tracked this down. Actually, it was Megan. I give her all the credit.
Megan, yeah, she tracked it down. And it's so funny because we bought it at the same location just 2 days before. We bought the last one at that day, and then they got more. And so the pop itself was hard to find. And then conversely, we had a great experience with Brendan Fraser. He was more than open to, like, hey, how you doing? He's very personable. He's like, hey, how's it going? Like, how's your day? And you can tell, like, you only get a few minutes. You can't expect the world in these scenarios, but it's just a little something. It's a little interaction. And so your son and Hannah were actually before me. So they also had, I forgot what they got. No, it was the pop. Yeah, there was there for the pop.
It's this one.
It's the pop. It's that one right there. And so they got it signed, and Edward, like, Hannah was like, hey, tell him the thing. Tell him the thing. And then Edward eventually got to the point where he says the famous line from the Universal attraction. Yeah. It would be better if I got my cup of coffee. And the best part about that, which for me was a shock, so I had to follow this, was that Brendan Fraser was like, hold on a second. And so then he pauses him, and he finished signs, and he just stays right there. He turns around, goes into a bag, pulls out an empty coffee cup that says, I think it said Brendan Fraser on it, or it says Brendan on it. Yeah. And he hands it to your son, and it's like, go get my cup of coffee. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's the bit. Like, he was 110% into the bit. And I was like, And then I come in afterwards like, hey, I like your movies. It's like, I can't follow that.
It's like this. He has a. That's funny. I didn't even think about that. That's really funny. It's like to follow that. It's like, hey, like your movies. You're really good at all the things. I can't follow the cute kid.
Also, your newborn as well that was
that's
stealing
right.
the show from everybody.
Apparently,
yeah, she was the conversation starter, 100%. And so I'm going over there is like, go get my cup of coffee. Then he goes over is like, what do you want? It's like, oh, I like your movies.
Oh.
Oh.
oh, you're just a man. You don't have kids. It's just you.
Yeah.
You got a little toy for me to sign.
Oh, wait a minute. You're just an adult. you got any better hobbies than standing in line for another man? Aren't you too old for this shit?
We get it. You like the Mummy.
Yeah. You and everybody else in this fucking line.
Move it. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
But you know what?
Oh, look, the same fucking toy like everybody else.
Oh, you're so original. Look, the kid had it too. It's like you got it first. It's the same one. It's like you
imagine having that argument. It's like, well, I had it first before the kid. I had it first. That's actually not even his. That's not even his toy. It's his dad's toy. He just so happens not to be here.
It's like I just want to let you know that I helped him find it.
You wouldn't even be signed that if it wasn't for me.
They didn't even have anything. Okay.
They were like, we gotta get Brendan's signature. We don't got nothing for him to sign.
Well, that's a whole other story. So what we actually had was they actually have.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They actually have a Mummy comic. It's like called Chaos of the Gods or whatever, and it's from the movie. And we were gonna have him sign it. They were supposed to deliver it, but the person who was running that eBay account was dragging their feet. And I ordered it 2 weeks before the con, and it came the Monday after. Unacceptable.
That's insane. I would have filed a complaint.
I told her, but Hannah's like, no, we're not gonna do that. So I was like, all right, you're the better, and that's why she's better, because I would 100% would have done that. So, like, fuck that guy.
So
he
funny.
fucked me really hard. I had this whole plan all set up, and he fucked it up. Okay.
That's so funny.
But it's funny you say that, because I heard
but-
the other experience that I missed. Because first of all, I would have loved to meet Brendan Fraser, just to like, listen, I love you in The Whale. I really loved you in Rental Family. Like, not even like this really shit.
Actually, speaking of that,
okay.
Speaking of, I did mention that. I did mention that. I said, hey, I love you in your most recent work in Rental. I actually said those exact same things, like Rental Family and The Whale. I didn't even mention The Mummy. And he goes, and he literally looks at me and he goes like, those are hard movies to watch. And I was like, yes. And it was very powerful and you did an amazing job. And he goes, and he kind of gave me some like, I wouldn't say words of wisdom, but was more or less of like, if you see anyone struggling, show them this movie. This was a really big, big important movie to be a part of.
Which one, The Whale or the?
And he said,
The Whale or the Rental
I think
Family?
just both.
Just both. Okay.
He didn't specify, but he just said like those were like, he basically said if you know anyone struggling, I had direct them to the movie. It was a big, it's a big movie for me. Like, I put a lot of passion into it. But also it just has a big impactful message, and I agree with that. And he also recommended him go watch the movie for Pressure, which is the next movie he's coming out with. That's coming out in a few weeks, actually.
What's it called? For
and
Pressure?
he recommended go watch. No, it's just Pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah. And he told me to like go check out that trailer, and I'm assuming if he's recommending that, then it has probably another big, heavy emotional topics that they're probably. I hadn't watched the trailer, but I'm assuming it's along those lines. However, but that was the interaction that I had, and also I was like standing next to Hannah and Edward with that interaction. So like to me as a whole, I got like about a minute's worth of this experience, and they were both great.
Yeah.
So like, and those are the things you kind of want. Those are things you don't really know what to expect. However, it was worth the journey. But yeah, you did miss out on a few of them. You also gave me the responsibility of holding this magazine with all these signatures, and I'm there literally standing with the
Witness.
The Witness, and they were looking at me. He's like, "What do you want signed?" I was like, "No, you talk to her. I'm just the holder of this. Like this." I just want to make this known. This is not for me. I even feel pressure just holding it right now.
Matt, that's
I was like,
because
there's a lot of
obviously
pressure right now.
that's because I trust you. Well, obviously,
Yes.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have handed it to you. I would have handed you my baby. Like that's we're on that level.
We're on that. Literally, I'm holding this thing for Sean Astin, for Carl Urban, and then when we were done, I was like, "Are we done like this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we have to give it back to whatever." I was like, I was happy to give this back to somebody that's not me, because I don't want to hold this anymore.
I no longer want this responsibility.
Nope. This is a lot of money, a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure you're putting on me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sad.
I mean,
I'm really sad I missed out on the Carl. Were you there? I'm assuming you were there for Carl Urban as well. She told me that Carl Urban wanted to hold my baby. He was
more
like,
or less,
he was like,
yes.
"Give me the baby." It's like, okay.
Well, it was funny because the interaction started with like, "What are we signing here today?" And I don't know who started it, but I think it was along the lines of like, I think it was Hannah who said the baby.
Oh,
Like what are we signing? And then had the baby.
oh, that's
He's
right.
like,
She
"Oh,
did
okay."
tell me that. She's like, I told him to sign the baby.
Yeah.
She's like, I think he would have.
Yes. Yeah, I think he would have too.
Sign her for it.
Yeah. Carl Urban. Fuck off.
The butcher.
The butcher. Then also we also got a lot of art while we were there as well. I have a few of them actually right here. I got some of them already framed. This is from one of the local artists that was there. I have one actually hanging up right now, but this is like a nice Back to the Future piece that I got going on.
I like that one. Yeah, that one looks.
Oh
nice.
yeah. Oh, this one I love this one here too. This is from another artist there, but this is like the iconic scene from Star Wars. I thought they did a really good job with that. And then apparently he's like my new favorite artist at this point. I believe his name is Logan. I want to say it's Logan Park, who is the artist. But I had bought two. Yeah, they're both here. I had bought this one.
Yeah, I remember.
Of Indiana Jones and his limited edition piece, and this was during Back to the Future. I had bought this like a year ago in New Orleans, actually. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was New Orleans, and I thought like these were really great pieces. Either that or some other con, but I thought it was New Orleans. And then he was there at MegaCon again, and I bought two more pieces because I thought like these are really good. And then at the same time, I bought a Logan Wolverine piece, which looks awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then also a John Wick piece as well.
Yeah, that's nice.
And another good one as well. And so yeah, and I honestly loved his. There we go. I really enjoyed his Ninja Turtles collection and his Lord of the Rings collection. I was like, man, I really wish I was a passionate fan of these two properties, because these another amazing pieces. I have no reason to have Lord of the Rings or Ninja Turtles hanging up. I don't like them like that. But I just thought it was like this man, like he's really good. And then he was even telling me, I was like, because it was funny because the Logan piece, I saw it on his website, and it was like also one of those limited edition ones. And I didn't see it on display, and I didn't even see it in his book either. And I just so happened, it's like, hey, do you have the Logan Blood and Sand series, which is what he calls like his limited edition stuff? And you can tell he was taken aback by that. He's like, oh, he's like, actually, I do. You know of this Blood and Sand series?
He's like, oh, you know my work? You follow me like that?
Yeah, you know my work? Yeah.
You probably made him feel really good.
Yeah, was so much so that he was like, he's like, you want to see what I'm working on now? I was like, hell yeah, I want to see what you're working on now. So he was like, I'm doing like this, like you could tell after that moment, he was like, oh, I'm doing this really cool this fan-made stormtrooper. I have this, and he was showing me like some early works of it. And I was like, and he's like, he had a few for sale, but they were already gone. Like he only had a few prints made so far. And yeah, you can tell he was like really excited about it. But he does really good work. And so right now I'm in the process of getting frames for them. And as Ernesto always says, we gotta do something wrong with his background. We're working on it.
Okay,
we're working
good.
on making this background look a little bit better. We're gonna try to incorporate some of those pieces as well, some art.
You gotta let me know if
into
he
the mix. So
let me know if he has any Batman pieces worth looking at.
ooh, he does.
Ooh.
But the first one in his Blood and Sand series, but it's already sold out. Like he only puts out a limited number. I think it's like 100 that he does for that particular series when he comes out with it. And I saw the Batman, and I was like, "Damn, that was a good starter for this series."
Damn.
And yeah, he's like that collection already sold out.
Well, damn it,
so I was
Matt.
like, "Damn, I know." I can look at some other stuff. I think he has some other Batman stuff. I think that one in particular was really nice.
Okay.
But long story short, I'm now into buying art. I also have this one too that I bought. I think I showed this one a couple of years ago because I bought this one. Also, I believe it was at New Orleans last year. But here is like, this is John Williams conducting all of his movies,
Oh, nice.
and you can see like there's the T-Rex. You see Indiana Jones, I believe, playing a triangle or something. Or no, maybe the T-Rex is playing the triangle. Yeah, T-Rex is playing the triangle. Harry Potter's in there. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Home Alone is in here. A lot of his work is basically showcased so beautifully in this artwork here. So yeah, another one of my one of the ones I got at these cons, and this is another fun aspect. I like going to these cons now. You meet all these great artists that are also a fan of these things, and yeah, they just have so much great work on display that now it's funny because I always figured art as like, oh, that's all fan made stuff. And I was really at the beginning only searching for like studio made, like posters and stuff like that I was really getting into. However, after I got older and I started going to these cons more, the better work is from the fans.
100%. I mean, there's just so much to see. Like, even besides, yeah, seeing the celebrities is cool, but honestly, I could spend all my time in Artist Alley and just going like seeing all the different comic book creators, and like sometimes they have like different variants of their books. Like I should have grabbed it, but I have so not only did I do the Scott Snyder experience on Sunday, but on Saturday I was like, well, I only get a certain amount of signatures for that, but I also have a first print issue 1 of Absolute Batman 1 that I absolutely need to have him sign. So I was like, so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? As soon as I get there on Saturday, I was like, I'm just gonna. After I did all my signatures, I went there to the table and they gave me a ticket to come back in the afternoon because his morning line was already full. So then I was done pretty early with my morning signatures. This is before the whole Orlando Bloom debacle. Like I had morning signatures, and then I had a lot of time before the evening to go get in line for Orlando Bloom. So I was like, you know what? I could go walk the show floor, or I can go to Scott Snyder and I can go get in line early for the afternoon line. And even though I went, I was like maybe number 15 in line, and we weren't even supposed to show up for like another 2 hours. But his line, we were already starting. So I was like the 10th person in line, and I waited. I was done with that at like maybe 4 o'clock. But it was great. I got to go up there. I got to talk to him. I actually got to have a conversation with him. I got to ask him about, that's when I asked him about like how long he plans on working on Absolute Batman. And he basically told me like indefinitely right now, like there's no other plans for him to work on anything else. Like this is what he's working on for the foreseeable future. So like, you know, having that interaction with him. But I also found they have a cover of Absolute Batman 1. It's like this red foil variant cover that's already signed by the cover artist. And you pay $40 for the book, and it also already includes his signature on it. So then I also got Scott Snyder to sign that too. So it was like I had this one too, but then I also got this extra book on top of the other ones that I was already going to get signed. And I got to have this experience. And then when I got to see him on Sunday, he actually remembered me from the day before. So we had like a continued experience from the day before. So it was good. Like, you know what I mean? It's like stuff like that. Like I could have walked the show floor and saw all these different things, but it was worth it for me to do this one thing and just make this one thing a really good experience. So like, I think that's the goal with MegaCon or even any con in general. Like my experience is mainly limited to MegaCon, but like it's so big. There's so much to do. You're just going there. You're not going to do everything. You're not going to be able to do everything. Yeah. You need to maybe pick a couple things to do, like maybe 1 or 2 main things for a day, and then that's it. And then if you want to shop, like you need to go on Thursday. If you want to shop, go on Thursday before everything sells out and before this place fills up.
So to your point, Megan and I had originally, first of all, I got to go with Megan. Typically she's traveling around MegaCon because MegaCon got pushed back. She was, those were not like her busy work time. So she finally got to go this year. so that my experience got even more enhanced because now I got to go with Megan, who also likes going to MegaCon, but work, sometimes doesn't allow that. So we had already bought our tickets for Sunday, and we were gonna say we're gonna go Sunday. And I was telling Megan, I was like, "Oh, we have, I want to get this signed, and we want to meet up with Ernesto and all that stuff." And she's like, "I don't think we're gonna be able to do that all in one day." And you're like, I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." And so like very last minute, I was like, "I get off of work at this time on Thursday. We can probably make this work if you get out about a certain time." She's like, "Yeah, let's go Thursday too." And I'm so happy that we did because we spent all of Thursday walking Artist Alley and half of the show floor.
Mm.
So by the time we came in on Sunday, which was our next day we were going in, and controversially, it felt like we were less pressured to like do a lot more because we did a good bulk of that walking around and like seeing what was out there. And for us, walking the show floor is a highlight for MegaCon. That's what we like to do.
Yeah.
So like when we spent, we were with Hannah and you you had left, but we were with Hannah for about 2 hours and getting all the signatures and stuff like that. But we were probably there, yeah, about roughly about 2 hours or so. And we got, the thing for Brendan Fraser. And then by the time at that point, it was already close to noon or 12:30. And that gave us the rest of the day to kind of just finish out the rest of the show floor. And then, it didn't feel like we were rushed at all. Which was nice. But then again, that came out with, going for 2 days rather than just trying to cram it into one. And then conversely, yeah, MegaCon requires multiple visits. Whereas I've been to other cons where I walk in, I spent 2 hours, 3 hours max, and was like, well, all right, that's it. like
Time to go.
It's a very time to go. It's like a very small show floor. They have a X amount of guests that they're promoting, and you may or not go to the panels. Some of them it's just like a ballroom. It's not that big. Like that's the whole convention. You have the artists and the creators and the actors on one end, and then you have the show floor on the other, and that's it. And so MegaCon's a rarity that and we're also just kind of a blessing that we have here in Orlando that like we have a huge con right in our backyard that we can go to. Some other ones like sometimes it's funny, I go to some of these smaller cons like come all weekend, and I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do all weekend? Like
I'm gonna go back.
This is an afternoon. Yeah, this is an afternoon at best. Sometimes I would go get the signature, do a loop around the show floor. It's like, well, that was an hour. I guess I'll go find lunch.
I guess I can leave.
I guess what else does the city have to offer? But needless to say, going to these conventions, it's a good time. I always enjoy doing these, and you get a lot out of them. And yeah, it's been a new, I wouldn't say a new hobby. I've been doing these for over 10 years now, but definitely I'm getting something different out of it now after doing these for a couple of years. So yeah, anything else you want to add to the MegaCon experience?
If you don't know, I guess kind of just furthering your point of like going on Thursday. If you don't know what to do, just get a ticket, just go on Thursday, walk the show floor, get a feel for the place, and you'll get and you can look at and then you can look at the program and see what you want to do. And there's people who don't even touch the show floor and they stay on the outside.
Right.
And they have like game rooms, they have like different panels, like little mini panels. There's a whole section of just cosplay. That's like it's literal own thing, completely separate. Like it's with the con, but it feels like it's almost like separate from the con.
And you're absolutely right. Like that's a whole different avenue of the con I don't even touch.
Yeah.
Like I would love to go to panels, but I always prioritize walking the show floor. That to me, I find more joy in that than waiting in a line to, especially if it's a big panel, to maybe get in and like stuff like that. And like to me, sit down and like I can see that online unless it's something I really like, a group of people I really, really want to see, like for myself, it was Back to the Future. If they're doing something, then I would make an effort to go to that panel. However, outside of that, if I have to wait for it, like, and it's in a long line, especially for MegaCon, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
Like if I can just walk in when it starts, then yeah, maybe that's a different story. And that's where I feel like with most panels can be like that. But then there's others where like, there's a long line just to get in and there's no guarantee. And if there's that, then like, I'd rather do something else because, your time is limited here. And I don't really want to spend that much of it waiting in lines, which to your point, you spend money on the VIP, have a what do you call those again?
The witness.
A witness, and you get to go to the VIP line. Again, it costs money. However, you gain a lot of your time back because those lines can be really long.
Listen, time
when you do that.
Just with anything, time as human beings is our most valuable resource. It's the one thing that we cannot get back. Yeah, it costs money, but you know how many hours you save not waiting in that Brendan Fraser line, standby line?
Yeah.
Like that would have literally been your day if you hadn't done what you paid like $60-$80. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. And then you get a little authentication seal on it. Like,
oh yeah.
It has a COA. It has a COA on it. I think
yes,
this one
it
has
does.
it too.
It's right here. It's on the right there, that sticker. Yep.
Shout out to Alpha Omega.
Shout out.
They are, as far as like cons, if you're gonna get anything signed or certified, like they're always great. They're local here in Lakeland, in Polk County area. Like if I have to pick up something, they have a local shop that I can just drive to. I don't have to go. I don't have to get it shipped to my house. I can just go. I can just go pick it up there, and they're kind of like a mom and pop business. They're really nice. They're really nice to work with. The people who work there are nice. They always help us out. So every year we go to MegaCon, we always go Alpha Omega.
Well, there you go. Supporting local businesses. I love it.
Facts. But yeah, I guess we can move to the next portion of our show.
All right, and so that we're gonna be talking about a little bit of news, and like we mentioned before, we have a lot that happened within the last 3 months, and we're not going to cover everything. We're going to cover the big news that is kind of worth having a conversation about. And there's two pieces of news that kind of came about that's worth discussing. And this first one is a big one. It is actually really huge. In a Hollywood shocker, Paramount Skydance is now expected to acquire the entirety of Warner Brothers Discovery after Netflix bows out of the bidding war. Despite Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery reaching an agreement back in December for Netflix to just buy Warner Brothers and HBO for nearly $83.3 billion, Paramount's latest bid was to acquire the entirety of WBD for approximately $111 billion, including its linear cable channels, in which Warner Brothers Discovery stated it was a much superior, or stated, sorry, they stated it was a much superior deal. That's already a mouthful of a sentence, of just that whole sentence right there. That Netflix already secured, like they were, and I remember like Paramount was upset that they didn't win the bidding war, and they went to Netflix, and then they renegotiated a few things. They probably shook hands with other people, and then they got a much superior deal within all this. And we'll talk about some of that in a second here. It says when Netflix was given the option to match the offer, Netflix stated the deal was no longer financially attractive, so we're declining to match Paramount Skydance's bid. This transaction was always a nice to have, in the right for the right price, but not a must-have at any price. Paramount will have to pay Netflix $2.8 billion to terminate the previous merger agreement. So part of that 111, they have to spend nearly $3 billion just to get out of that contract. So that's how deep it was.
Damn.
That they were, Netflix was already buying Warner Brothers Discovery. And again, Paramount is buying all of Warner Brothers Discovery, including its cable networks, where Netflix was only buying basically the Warner Brothers and HBO portion of that. So before I go into the second part of this, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's sad to see that we have this big merger because, of course, that just means more consolidation. That means less space for competition. That's less creatives working in these roles because they're just going to be combined and pushed into other studios. So ultimately, it's sad that this merger even has to happen. But
yes,
I guess, at a certain point, they have to save whatever's left. And Netflix says it's not viable anymore. So deuces. And they get and they're getting out of the contract. They said no, and they get money anyway. So I guess in a way, Netflix doesn't really lose out by saying no. It's not, It's,
Well, not only that, they put the $83 billion back in their pocket.
yeah.
In addition to an extra $3 billion because they already made a deal that Paramount wants to break.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Netflix comes out on top in all this. It's to me, it's just extremely sad because a merger was going to happen, and I believe Netflix was the better of the two evils there, because one, they weren't buying out the whole conglomeration outright; they were just buying a portion of it, and so far, I liked what they've been doing as far as the giving efforts to have the creatives have control of their projects. It's not always the case, but sometimes when people come out of working with Netflix, they come out with mostly positive reviews of like their experiences, especially some of the creative control that they have. And granted, the big thing with Netflix was the theatrical experience, which Netflix was warming up to. I think we would have had a different, experience at the end of the day of how Netflix would have handled, the Warner Brothers filmography and those movies going into theaters. But we saw them warming up when we saw Frankenstein and Stranger Things finale, and there's another one that I'm drawing a blank on, but
K-pop Demon Hunters sing along.
K-pop Demon Hunters, yeah. So like they were definitely warming up to it. So I think we would have gotten there, especially they would have had to, because Warner Brothers is a big theatrical production house. But now to see that it's going to Paramount and they're buying everything, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like this at all, not one bit. Right now, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of political conversations about Paramount and how they're dealing with things. And it all started, and just kind of like the tip of the iceberg here is when Stephen Colbert is no longer having his late night show, and that turned into a huge thing, and it pretty much all stems into politics, unfortunately, which it shouldn't. And then it comes into censoring ship. There was a whole episode on South Park that was making fun of it. But I'm sure, and now Warner Brothers is now going to be in that particular wheelhouse of all this. It's not looking good as far as for the creatives out there, as far as what type of content we're getting. To your point, like the amount of variety that we could be getting in content is going to be significantly decreased, which goes into the second part of this announcement that came in a few days later after the big one, which I'm not sure if I 100% completely buy. And that being just days after this announcement, Paramount announced that its plans for the future after the merger, stating that Paramount Plus and HBO Max will combine into one streaming service, which is very much expected, with HBO brand still operating independently. 15 films per studio, 30 films total, will be released in theaters with a 45-day theatrical window for each film. There will be a $6 billion cost cutting, including consolidating and tech infrastructure, real estate, corporate overheads, and more. That's concerning.
Yeah.
AI will be a tool for artists, but never a replacement for storytellers and filmmakers. Okay. No plans to sell off or spin off any cable assets. Flexibility to put sports on any cable network. I guess that includes the flexibility to put sports in cable network, and then continues to license movies and TV shows to other studios and platforms, which HBO has been doing, and a lot of other studios have been doing that for a while, depending on the highest bidder, and that's been happening for a while now. But the biggest thing I call bullshit on, the biggest thing, is 15 films per studio, 30 total. I don't buy it for 1 second.
Yeah, neither do I.
Like,
yeah.
There's no way that you're producing 30 films theatrically. It's I mean, right now individually, Paramount doesn't even do that. Right now, they're not even putting out 15 movies per year in their own studio. And then I was listening to a podcast, and they were comparing the Disney Fox merger and the outputs of movies they were putting out, like separately, and then at the beginning of the merger, and then a few years after the merger. And at the beginning of the merger, there was a lot of projects that were still ongoing, so there was quite a influx of movies that were going in between which now is called 20th Century Studios and Disney. Now 20th Century Studios do not output as much theatrically, and like at least half of their movies are now only Hulu streaming exclusives.
And that's where it is that they're gonna see the money. Oh well, we can just put it on streaming and then save our big releases, our big movies from all our entities are the ones that go out to the now more is just going to get pushed to streaming.
Right. And to be fair, HBO and Paramount Plus do not have a lot of movies that are exclusively on the streaming service that premieres on Paramount Plus and HBO. Actually, a lot of studios don't really do that anymore, with the exception of Disney. Disney does do that. Netflix obviously does do that. Prime does it. But Paramount and Warner Brothers don't really release movies on streaming anymore. A lot of them filter through the theaters and then come down. So there's that aspect of it. However, I don't believe that if each individual studio is not already outputting up to 15 movies per year consistently, I don't see how you can guarantee that when you're together. That's just me. Just looking, this is just math here.
Yeah, it just doesn't work it just doesn't work like that unless they're going to have their own movies competing against each other, which is, I guess, inevitable at this point.
I mean, yeah, but they were probably smart enough to not release both their movies at the same time, especially their big ones. And also just all of this is just really disheartening to see that Warner Brothers is still looking to sell their movie studio and all their assets anyway, because Warner Brothers in 2025 was an amazing year.
Yeah.
Like, they released banger after banger after banger. The mix between IPs and originals. We had Sinners and One Battle After Another, both coming from Warner Brothers, competing for Best Picture, as well as making, especially Sinners, making a ton of money in the box office. Weapons was also produced by Warner Brothers, or distributed by Warner Brothers, and it did great as far as horror is concerned, and it also walked away with another Oscar. And then also The Pit and other shows on HBO. They had The Last of Us also on HBO. Like, they have fantastic shows on there that is now all going to be filtered through, the Paramount Skydance Corporation. And it's like, you're on a hot streak right now. Why would you want to sell this?
Yeah, they have the hottest properties. I mean,
exactly. And it blows my mind. Also, Superman came out last year.
Yeah.
And it made a decent amount of money. And DC is just kicking off as well. So, and then also you're with Harry Potter coming out the end of the year, it's baffling to me that you have all these great IPs, and I bet that's what Paramount wanted.
Yeah.
Like, Paramount doesn't have a laundry list of IPs, but Warner Brothers does. They do now.
Yeah.
So it sucks to see that, another major studio is taking this over. With Netflix, at least it's not one of the big major studios. It would have stung a little bit less if it stayed with Netflix. However, this is the new reality, and who knows how long this is going to take. I think this deal is still under approval. It has not been officially confirmed and official yet. But if all the cards fall in their direction, I would say by the end of the year, we would start seeing the paper, the ink dry on the paperwork, and then by mid 2027, we will see a lot of that stuff come to fruition. And then by 2028, we'll probably see a good idea of what this merger looks like at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's just hope it's not as bad as we think it's going to be.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so moving on to the other big story that we're going to talk about is the battle at the box office. Ernesto, this story for me has been going on for weeks now, and it has been some of the most entertaining that I've seen on the news circuit in a while. And for those who don't know what Doomsday is, strap in. Here it is. So, with Avengers Doomsday, this all started with Avengers and Marvel. They started this, all right?
Yep.
With Avengers Doomsday delaying its release by a few months ago, sorry. Let me start over. With Avengers Doomsday delaying its release date a few months ago by 7 months. So it was supposed to be released on May 1st, 2026.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to get this movie in a few weeks, Ernesto. In a few weeks. But they decided to delay it to the date of December 18th, 2026, which so happens to share the date as Dune Part 3. Now, many thought that Warner Brothers would have moved the date of Dune Part 3 to avoid any competition. However, that does not seem to be the case at all. You see, Dune Part 3 has the upper hand in this situation, since Dune Part 3 has, since it had the release date first, IMAX has confirmed that Dune Part 3 has secured a 3-week exclusivity IMAX window.
Mm-hmm.
That put Dune Part 3 just this past week even doubled down on its release date by selling its first batch of 70mm IMAX screening that sold out in seconds. Meaning that the earliest Avengers Doomsday would be in IMAX theaters would be a month after its opening weekend. Marvel would most likely be pursuing and marketing other premium formats like Dolby and RPX. So that's a huge deal. You have a major movie like Avengers Doomsday and you're not releasing an IMAX in your opening weekend. So for some people that might not be the end of the world. You might not have IMAX in your area. However, as far as like the broader scope of things, a huge blockbuster like that, that's a pretty big deal that your major movie is not getting an IMAX release.
Well,
Opening weekend.
and I think Dune, because the way Denis Villeneuve shoots, I have to look to confirm, but I'm pretty sure it was shot specifically in IMAX because he shoots very similar to how Christopher Nolan shoots. So it makes sense that he would have secured the IMAX window.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, by all means, like that's what you do, right? You pick a release date, you talk to the other companies that this is what we want, and go on and so forth. But it's crazy to think that I think there was a world where Marvel thought that Dune would have backed down. Like, oh, we'll just push it and we'll release it in early 2027, or we'll push it back a week, or we'll move it around. They figured for whatever reason Marvel wanted that specific date, and they were going to land on it. And what's funny is that there's a lot of people making these decisions. Like they didn't just randomly pick that day. It's like, oh, Dune's there. Who knew? Like they know, they're very much aware what the other movie studios are doing and what movies are being released. And then like now, like they knew exactly what they're doing. And I feel like they thought that Warner Brothers was going to fold. And what now it's turning into another Barbenheimer situation. But except it does feel forced. In this case, Barbenheimer was definitely organic, but also two polar opposites of a film.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oppenheimer and Barbie are not the same movie, which made the whole joke more funny and appealing and introduced massive, a lot of people going to the box office or going to the theaters that week or that opening weekend. And then it kind of happened again with a lot of people call it Glicked or the Wickinator when Wicked Part 1 and Gladiator Part 2 came out. And that was like not as big as Barbenheimer, but it was kind of close, and it did bring a lot of people to the theater for the same exact reason. So now it's kind of happening again, but with Dunes Day. They're calling it Dunes Day. And then so now the fact that it looks like they're doubling down on this, Marvel seems to also not backing down. But also to make this box office drama even more interesting, Sony's Jumanji 3 has now entered the chat by shifting its release date from December 11th, 2026 to December 25th, 2026. The reason for the shift was to avoid what would have been a huge second weekend drop in the box office since Doom Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday releasing just 1 week later. I 100% do not blame that decision.
Oh, hell yeah. That's actually a smart decision. They're like, we don't want any part. We don't want no part of that.
But instead, they decide to be releasing a week after this whole mess to try to, like, I'm assuming, offer something else for the people who had already seen Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday. So with that, where did I leave off? There we go. Jumanji 3 now joins, however, a crowded Christmas Day release, now sharing opening weekend with The Angry Birds Movie 3 and Robert Eggers' Werewolf, and not to mention competing with streaming debuts as HBO's Harry Potter series and Netflix's The Chronicle of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew from director Greta Gerwig. So, like, that's already a crowded weekend already, but they figured, I'm going to leave December 11th in favor of now coming out with all these other, and granted, they're not all the same movie. Those are different demographics they're trying to hit, but an interesting move on their part. So with Jumanji 3 now shifting its release date, December 11th now sits empty without any major releases coming out. Industry insiders are now saying that Marvel might shift Avengers Doomsday to premiere on December 11th, possibly securing at least 1 week of IMAX showings. To me, that sounds like the better move if I was Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know they want to hold on to this whole Doomsday thing. But my thing with the IMAX, I think they're just, they're going to miss out on some. And they realistically, that should be the move. They should move to the 11th. But like, they're hoping for IMAX, but the movie, because I just while we were talking, I kind of just did like a quick look up on what did they actually shoot on IMAX. So a quick comparison between Doomsday and Dune Part 3. So as far as IMAX capture, Dune Part 3 uses real 1570 millimeter IMAX film in select sequences. They use 65 millimeter film, and they have an IMAX digital desert. Whereas Avenger Doomsday, they just use the Ari Alexa based digital IMAX camera. So it's not like they have the cameras there, but it's not really shot. It wasn't really shot in real IMAX. You know,
Right.
Dune Part 3 has the real 1431 IMAX aspect ratio, whereas Doomsday has the expanded 191. Not the it's not so we're not even you're just getting an expanded version of what's showing on a regular screen. So there's nothing that's really, I feel like there's nothing really added to the IMAX screening of that. Whereas you're just looking at it on a bigger screen in an IMAX theater. You're paying for IMAX prices for
Right.
a regular quality screening. Like I just don't think that people realize that. And
They don't.
I get they don't. And I think I think that's basically what it comes down to, is that they're just missing out on an extra format, which is the
Yes.
IMAX. Which realistically, that's what they should move. But I guess to me the point is like I wasn't, at least for me, if I was gonna watch this movie, I wasn't gonna watch it in IMAX anyway. Like the IMAX for this movie, it holds no weight for me.
But for you and for most people doing the research, there's a clear reason why movies like Sinners and Oppenheimer, what's going to be the Odyssey,
Yes.
and for Doom Part 3, like the cinephiles know that this movie was made for this particular format, and we're going to
Correct.
go in droves to do that. Whereas other movies, most movies that come out and they come out with an IMAX, for example, you're just getting a digital upgrade.
Yes.
Like you're not getting the full experience unless you not only see it in IMAX, but also you have to see it in the right format of IMAX. Not every theater can do that. So even if, for example, Dune Part 3 is doing exactly what you said, not every movie theater, not every IMAX theater is going to be able to fully capture that moment
Yeah.
unless you go to the proper theater that has the right projector and the right screen to output that. So, and a lot of this stuff is just digital recreation or digital upgrades, and so like they're just upscaling it. Like you said, some people are just using digital IMAX cameras. What some of the other movies are using actual film, which is more expensive. Project Hail Mary is another one of those examples that they actually used IMAX film cameras for it.
Mhm.
So that's why when you're trying to get an IMAX showing, it's probably going to be busy. A lot of people, there was a lot of even uproar, not a uproar, but there was like even headlines of like, hey, IMAX, Project Hail Mary is losing IMAX for the week because Super Mario Bros. Galaxy is coming out and they have an IMAX window. However, the articles are saying it's coming back because of the popular demand of seeing that movie in IMAX.
Yeah.
And that's because people know that, oh, if there's any movie we're going to go see in IMAX, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
Whereas from other movies, it's not that important. But I think the big thing for Marvel within this case, even though they are using digital cameras, is the fact that they're losing out on opening weekend box office numbers.
Yeah, and
That's
that's what
the
it comes
bigger-
down to. They just
Yes,
want
absolutely.
they just want the revenue, which I get. I mean, obviously we understand. They just want the revenue for the IMAX screening, even if they're not providing any extra value for the IMAX screening.
Correct. Yes. Because again, most audiences are not going to know the difference for the most part. Not to say that they're dumb, they're just not doing the research for it. Or,
Or
they're
they're
not like,
looking. They're not really looking that hard.
right. Or they just don't care. Like most
could be
people
it
don't
too.
care about the premium formats and they're just going to go watch it in their local theater just because they just want to see the movie. And that's perfectly fine. But there are just certain movies you go out for to see a movie like that. And currently, right now in theaters, Project Hail Mary is one of them. And to be honest, the next movie that's probably going to deliver that is going to be the Odyssey
Yeah.
that comes out in July.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the Odyssey, just because of how close the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day is, because the Odyssey also has a 3-week exclusivity window, Spider-Man Brand New Day's opening just falls within that window. So they're also not even getting IMAX showings opening weekend either, because they decided to release their movie at the end of July, which is 2 weeks after the Odyssey. So they would have to wait at least 2 weeks before they would get their own IMAX screenings, But if and this is where it comes to their benefit, if the movie's doing popular, which it will, it's a Spider-Man movie, and there's no other big releases coming out in August, they can get people on a double, like coming back for more. It's like, oh, you saw Spider-Man, but you didn't see Spider-Man in IMAX. Come back to the theater and go watch it in IMAX. I feel like it works for Spider-Man because I think people are just going to go see Spider-Man anyway and repeat viewings. However, I don't think it works as much for Avengers Doomsday because there's so many movies coming out around that time. It's already crowded. August is not a huge release month for major releases. And so the fact that Spider-Man is coming out the end of July, it can capitalize on that. Whereas like people don't go to the movies in January. So like the say like if the marketing was like, now you've seen Avengers Doomsday, but did you see it in IMAX? You're like, I've already spent all the money. Like
3 weeks.
I'm
That was like 3
tired.
weeks. That was 3 weeks ago. Like so many other things have come out since then. But what I think works for Spider-Man is that, as you said, it's at the tail end of the summer season. So like all the big things have already come out, and we're in that weird in between like the spooky season and like what's left of like that in between summer and like spooky fall season, where it's kind of like there's like maybe one good one in August, maybe one good one in September, whereas Spider-Man can kind of capitalize and just kind of ride that wave through all of that. I mean, it could have a long theatrical window because of that if there's nothing else coming out. Like, oh, well, you can go see Spider-Man, whereas Doomsday has the opposite problem. It's going into the winter season when we usually get a lot. I mean, the end of the year is like that's all like Oscar bait movies and like the big holiday like the big holiday hits usually come out around that time. I mean, Avengers is included in that conversation as well, but you're going into an already overcrowded area. So either you come back a week or you go Christmas Day. Like,
I would 100% give it. Now, what's interesting is that it will probably be a while before we talk about it on the show, but CinemaCon is happening next week. And Avengers Doomsday is likely to have a presence at this year's CinemaCon. And I wouldn't be surprised if they announce a date change during CinemaCon. So we'll see.
But then what shit is that? Because we just had these 4 weeks of trailers with a fucking countdown on it. So now those trailers mean shit. Like you committed so hard to the date that you included the countdown in your trailer.
Yes. And guess what? The clock changed. That's what it is. Doomsday is coming sooner.
He's got to get a little sooner. He made a right turn.
We found a shortcut to your wallet.
Dr. Doom found a shortcut in the multiverse. He's on his way.
In the multiverse.
He's gonna
He's
show
like,
up
there. Oh shit! Hold up, wait a minute. I can get there a week earlier.
Yeah, look, I'm on IMAX now.
Shit, I should have just hopped on 95 earlier.
Yeah. Man, well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, this December is going to be a crazy one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But quickly, where's your stance? If Doomsday is happening, which movie are you seeing first?
Ooh, that's kind of hard because, I mean, Dune Part 2 was like a theatrical experience. Like I had an experience seeing that in the theaters. Like I could think about it, and I see a lot of movies in the theaters. Like I remember that experience. I remember sitting in a theater and experiencing that movie for the first time in the Dolby Theater, and it was, I mean, it's unmatched. Even now at home, I still love the movie. Denis Villeneuve is 100% one of my favorite directors all time. Arrival is like one of my top 5 movies of all time, hands down. I've watched that movie at least like 6 or 7 times. Like, but this one, it's probably going to be Dune 3. If I had to pick which one to see first, it would probably be Dune 3. I'm gonna see Avengers. I'm gonna see Avengers, but I don't know. I got to give it to Dune 3. I'm gonna end up seeing both that I mean within that same time. But if I had to prioritize, I would see Dune 3 first.
I'm prioritizing Avengers, man. I'm so in the Marvel game right now.
Yeah.
I am excited for this movie. I'm also kind of bringing down my expectations a little bit more because I don't think it's going to live up to the Infinity War Endgame status. We have not properly built this
You can't
this
compare.
post Endgame. You can't compare it. However, I'm so excited for that, and also just my algorithm. That's the first thing that's going to get spoiled for me. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
gotta watch that first. And I'm more excited for that one than I am for Doom Part 3. But I am also excited for both movies. So I mean, for the nerds, we're just eating it up right now.
Yeah.
We're getting like
Lots of movies.
lots of movies. But yeah, but that's all the entertainment news we're going to be talking about this week. As always, you can follow us on our social media channels on Facebook at Box Office Bingers and our threads and Instagram page at Box Office _Bingers. When we do have news worth something that we feel like it's worth posting, we'll post it on there first, and then eventually we'll come back on the show and we'll talk about it. Like we said, it's been a few months since we've talked about it on the show, but with our Oscar coverage, and then sometimes we have guests on. We don't want to, bog down with those conversations. So they're probably not going to be as frequent as they used to be in the past. However, this show is always in flux. We're always changing the game. And so when there's news, we will eventually get to it if we do want to talk about it. So we appreciate you kind of just us going with the flow and kind of just having, you never know what you're going to get when you go on to Box Office Bingers. But if you stay tuned to our social media channels, again, Facebook at Box Office Bingers, Threads and Instagram at Box Office _Bingers. We'll post the entertainment news over there first, and then we'll come back on the show and we'll talk about it. So with that, we're going to move over to a fun segment we like to call What You're Watching. And man, we got a lot to talk about on this particular segment. So Ernesto, we'll start with you. What have you been watching?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of things that we are sharing this week, Matthew, and I'm very proud of that because I've got a lot of, I've got a couple movies that we're watching, but I'll start with TV. So starting with TV, the one thing I'm watching that you're not watching is Steve Carell's new show, Rooster, which is absolutely hilarious. It's already been renewed for a season 2. Steve Carell is like this successful novelist, and he gets after he gets divorced, and he takes a job at this college. And it's just got it's got quirky people. Also the soccer player from Ted Lasso's in there. The guy with the asshole guy. Can't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about?
Brett Goldstein?
No, the other one.
The other asshole.
The other one. The one who leaves the team.
Oh, okay. I don't remember his name, but
the soccer player, not the other.
Yeah.
But his daughter is also a teacher there, and she's kind of going through something with her husband. There's an affair, and then he kind of comes in. So he comes into this place, and he's getting to be dad to this girl. So, but he's also kind of roping himself into the intricacies there. It's also a lot of episodes directed by Zach Braff is the main director on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It's kind of heartfelt. It's really, really funny. It's actually created by Bill Lawrence, the guy who did Scrubs. He did Ted Lasso, also creator of Shrinking. But it's really good so far. It's kind of heartfelt. There's a lot of good, cool moments with him and his daughter, but it's also just kind of stuff around the campus. That's just kind of very fun interactions. It's very Steve. It's like Steve Carell being Steve Carell. It's really funny. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm already in the bag right there from the tagline from the creators of Ted Lasso and Shrinking.
Yeah,
there's been some of the best TV in years.
Does not disappoint.
And that does not disappoint. I'm surprised Apple couldn't secure this show as well, given the history that Steve Carell's on the Apple for some of their projects, in addition to the creators. Maybe they had a better deal, working it out with HBO. However, this is exciting. I would love to see any project that they're working on. And I love Ted Lasso. I love Shrinking, and I don't see this being any different. And Steve Carell's a great vehicle. So once this is all wrapped up, I'll probably start watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching it week to week, but it's a really in each episode's only 30 minutes, so it's a perfect watch on a lunch break kind of show.
Yeah, there you go. I look forward to it once it's all wrapped up, and then Megan's away for work again, so when she comes back, I already told her hey, this is on the list. We gotta watch
This is what we're
show.
watching. Where are we going? No,
This is
we're
what
not
we're
going
watching.
anywhere. We're sitting down on the couch. We're getting through this list. We got so many things to watch.
You leave me.
Please come back.
Please come. Please come back. These shows aren't gonna watch themselves, and if I watch it, you yell at me. So. All right, let's move on to some shows that we both watch. First of which, so you finished Platonic a while ago.
A while ago.
A long
Probably
time.
like right after it dropped. I watched the whole season.
Okay, it took us a while to get. We were in and out of this show. Like we had watched in batches, and then we weren't into it. Then we watched other shows, and we came back. Eventually, I was it was so funny. I was telling Megan, I was like, "Hey, do you want to finish Platonic?" And she's like, "Eh," and I was like, "Megan, I got to talk about this on the podcast." I was like, "We have 4 more episodes left. That's 2 hours. That's a whole movie.
Come on.
Come on.
Sit down.
They need to know what we're going to talk about.
Just
They
scroll
need to
on your
know.
phone. Act like you're interested.
Yeah. Don't do it for you. Do it for me. You're doing it for the box office.
Don't you love me?
The people need to know, Megan. They need to know our thoughts on this show they never heard of before." However, I thought that it ended better than it started.
Okay. The second season in
The second season,
specifically?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically the second season. I think overall, I wasn't really that big of a fan of the wedding storyline. I feel like it kind of bogged the show down a little bit, and I didn't really care for the character that Seth Rogen was going to marry. I never cared for that character. So then when the whole wedding thing happened, and then there was like, we're calling it off. Once all that happened, and then there was like another episode where like it was like a little bit of runoff of the jokes after like a few months after the whole breakup that happened. Once we just stopped focusing on that and we just focused back to the crazy stuff that it is between Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen, then it became better again, in my opinion. And so I thought it ended a little bit stronger. However, I think it already got renewed for season 3. I felt like it was better as like a limited series, one season only type of deal. I'm not sure how far we can stretch this particular story because I already feel like we're running out of steam.
Yeah, I think they did get renewed, I do believe, but it kind of needs to be it. Like it's starting to lose its appeal. Although some of the stuff like was really funny. If I remember correctly, he like kind of meddles in their marriage a little bit and kind of gets in between her and her husband because he's staying in the guest house after he gets kicked out, right? Like I thought all that stuff was really funny.
Yeah,
and you're right. He goes and gets drunk with him, and they go to the Wheel of Fortune guy's house. They like break into his house or whatever, right? Yeah.
Oh, Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
A running bit that always gets me, and same for Megan, I don't know why, was that they feel the need to like kick down the rental bike.
Yes.
And like the little and the little robots, the little delivery robots that go around, and he feels the need to like, oh fuck those, and then he just kicks it down. It's so random, but it makes me laugh every time. I don't know why. But the show has its moments, but like, yeah, I think we're running we're running out of steam here a little bit. I think to your point, let's end it with 3 seasons. Let's Seth Rogen focus on the studio.
Yeah. I think we just need to wrap this one up. Although I think like Rose Byrne, who's just coming off, if I had legs, I'd kick you. Like what range she has. She's a fan.
Oh yeah.
She's like, I want to see her in more things. Like the last movie she just did, and like she was absolutely fantastic in that. So, I mean, she's so funny because you think of her in like Neighbors and in this. Yeah, like she's great. She's great in everything she does. So I'm just excited to see her do more different things.
There's a movie that came out not too long ago called Toe. Mm-hmm. It's based on a true story. It's about somebody who lost their car and they're kind of down on the luck, and then their car got towed and they weren't able to afford the charges that it took to get the car out of the impound. And then apparently this launched into a large legal case, and like how she said this wasn't right, and you guys are overcharging for no reason. Apparently it's based on a true story, and just based off the trailer, it looks pretty interesting, as well as another different role for this character. It didn't really seem much of a comedy, but kind of like that dramedy line between like a little like lighthearted drama, but it had little comedic moments into it. So I just saw that it was in theaters not too long, a very limited release in theaters. I think eventually it's going to go out on VOD and obviously streaming. So once it's streaming, I'm definitely going to go check it out.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's Platonic season 2. Next we have St. Denis Medical. The second season just wrapped up. I was watching this show in batches, and this show is consistently funny. It gets 2 to 3 big laughs out of me every season or every episode. And the dynamic that they have moving forward, it's like it's just like Abbott Elementary, just like Parks and Rec for the most part. It's just the comedic interternal drama between a workplace comedy. In this case, it's just set in a hospital, and it's hilarious.
It just works. Like, I don't know, they know the formula, and they just cast the right people. But I think, like, out of this one, like, this one is just so good. I love David Alan Grier's character, Bruce, the Dr. Bruce Schweitz. Like, he's so funny. Like, even the main lead nurse, like, she's so good. And then you have, I don't remember her name, Sandra from Superstore. In the photo, she's the one all the way on the right. Like, she had such a meek role in that, and like to come over, and she's like this, I don't know, she's like this quiet badass in the corner. Like, she always has something really smart to say. Like, she's just like when she gets on to Ron about his shoes squeaking, and she's like, what did she say? She's like, oh, am I holding a grudge from something he said about me on this date, on this time? No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. Like, it's just like she does shit like that, and it's just so funny. Like, I love her character. Matt, his birthday party at the laser tag place.
The birthday party.
That shit was so.
And then the main a lot of things were happening at the birthday party. That was a really funny episode.
Yes,
because you have I want to get these characters out there. Let me look it up on IMDb real quick. But you have like the
Chaplain Steve.
Chaplain Steve. His introduction, not introduction, but his integration within all this is quite funny. I wasn't expecting it to come out of this from season 1. But you have Joyce, who is who is I guess she's like the head seer of the hospital.
Yeah, she's like the
HR.
She's like the main. She's like the administrator. She's like the.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
She's like the boss. She's like the main boss.
And then Allison Tolman, who plays Alex, who is the main nurse.
Yeah.
So you had that episode in particular. You had Joyce coming off of a divorce, but not a divorce, but she had like she had a breakup.
Yeah.
She was trying to get herself back out there, and so she thought that they were going to like Matt's birthday party that was going to be at a club, at
Laser
a bar.
Lounge.
Laser Lounge. And she's like, I bring out she has like this very form-fitting, revealing outfit. She says she got the girls out. She's like, the cleavage is on point, like everything. Like she doll herself up for this, and then she walks in. It's a laser. And she's like, I look ridiculous. And then she's like just hitting on every like adult that's there just to get something out of the night, which was first of all hilarious. And then you have Alex on the other hand, who has been there 1,000 times with her kids, but yet she's never the one playing laser tag. And then she gets so into it that there's all these roadblocks that prevent her from actually playing laser tag, because she's either like caring for another child who gets lost, or she started running and then they told her to sit out for like 10 minutes. It was a really well-crafted episode.
I would say most of their episodes are like that. I think maybe I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head. I think what it is that they know the formula. Like, the formula is almost like secondary, but to me, I think it's just the way that they are writing these characters. Like, you could just tell they're putting so much care and thought into every single episode. Like, every bit, like, it doesn't fall flat. Like, everyone hits so hard, and it lasts. Like, the whole thing with Matt and Chaplain Steve, like, him hating him, that's a callback to season 1 when he calls him out for being a fake chaplain. So now he has like this underlying hate for him, and he's like, Schweitz is talking to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, Matt likes him. I met that little bitch." Like, he just like he's like always talking shit to him. He just starts coming up and starts kissing on Serena. It's just the way that they set up these things from so long ago, and they're finding ways to just make them hit harder now. Like, it's just great. Like, perfect example, Joyce. She gets all dolled up, and they go into the laser tag room, and she's talking to Alex, and she sees like, you know, they're in the black light and she's got all that shit on her face because she had waxed her lips. So she's like, I look like a chipmunk. I forgot what she said, but she said something really fun. But it's just, but that alone, that moment is a callback to her. It's just like reintroducing the fact that she got all dolled up to come to this place. But like that small little ad made that much of a difference. Like it just made that moment that much funnier. And I think that's what this show does really well. And like I think Bruce Schweitz, his character, like anytime he's on screen, him just saying whatever ridiculous shit he says, like when he goes for the job interview at the other hospital and he starts being an asshole to them because he becomes uncomfortable because like, you know, he's one of those people who feels like he has to be on top and he goes here and he's on the bottom. But it's to see that character trait play out in that situation, perfectly written. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, and to your point, like you can see what works in one workplace setting and then completely doesn't even work in another.
Yes.
And I think that's granted there's a comedic beat to it. However, I think that really translates very much in real life where like you can be top dog in one area because you're comfortable in your setting, but then when you try to move on and you think you're hot shit, it makes you humble real quick.
Yes.
Puts you in your place when you realize you're not even close to what the, you know, a different situation can be. And so to me, it just also showcases like, you know, either be kind to others, don't expect, you know, just be humble about everything. And then you kind of work your way up where he's like, oh, I'm top dog. He's like, oh, you're talking about what? We did that just 5 minutes ago. Like, what are you talking about? Like, sure, that's good for you. But like, you're not a real surgeon.
They go, oh, that was the end of the story. Oh,
that was the story.
like just the let's say it out loud. Like, oh, that's it. Oh, and then they were talking about some kind of equipment. And they're like, yeah, you could just do this. He goes, yeah, but you can't do that. And they're like, oh, 2014 call. They want their equipment back. And then he tries to use that same bit with like different things because he's so uncomfortable. And then he's like 2014 call. And he's like, they're like, why do you keep saying that? He goes, you said the thing. I'm just trying to keep it going and trying to keep it light. Yeah, assholes. Or I forgot what he said, something that he's like, see you later, fuckers, or whatever. Like it was just so awkward. It was great. And then he has to go back to Joyce. And he's like, you know, I guess I could take 3,000. Like they go through this whole little back and forth. It was great.
Yeah, back and forth for the raise. Yeah, I think to your point, and then also because you haven't finished it yet.
No, I've got like I think we're on 14, so we've got like maybe 3 or 4 episodes left. Because it's 4. Because there's 18 left.
Yes, I will say it was a good finale. I'll just put it that way.
Ooh.
Yeah, I enjoyed how it ended. It was a good stopping point for the season because really there's not like a big through line that they kind of work toward through these seasons. I guess the only thing that was a through line in this particular season was Joyce was opening up the
birthing
pregnancy
center.
wing, the birthing center. That's right. And so like we were gearing up to the grand opening basically toward the finale. But there are other but also other things are happening. But I think it ended really nicely and a good jumping off point into the next season. So one of the better comedies on TV right now that's also on cable network. It's on NBC.
What I also think helps is that the episodes are so good, and it's very similar to like Superstore and The Office, where each episode just has very high rewatchability, where you can just watch.
Yes.
You can watch a random episode and you can enjoy it from start to finish without really having context. You're gonna miss like some of maybe the smaller jokes, but it's enough for you to get in. I think each episode by itself is enough for you to get invested. Like you're like, oh, that was
100%.
really funny. I can go back and rewatch it. Like we rewatched the first season. I must have rewatched the first season at least like 2 or 3 times already. But I can, but it's like it's one to good. You can just have it on in the background, and you just happen to see a moment, and you can just watch that one moment and kind of go back to whatever you're doing. But it's good. Like even after you've watched it, it's great. It's just like background noise.
Yeah, I can agree to that. It's definitely like you said. It knows the formula and is just doing it well. That's all it's doing.
100%.
And they're like, okay, we did it at a paper company. We did it at a Parks and Rec place. We did it at a superstore. Let's do it again at a medical hospital. And also, it's not on my list. However, I am keeping up with it. Once it's all over, I'll have a larger conversation about it. But Megan and I are keeping up week to week on The Pit, since we're talking about medical shows. Ernesto, you're missing out, man. You are missing out.
I just need to start because I think it's I'm still hung up on the like the medical show, like you know what I mean, like those medical procedurals, like they just
Yeah.
it's a barrier for entry for me. So it's like every time I go to watch it, it's like, am I in the mood? Am I gonna be in the mood for this? And I guess the answer is yes.
I will say the answer is yes, because I'm also in the same boat. I'm not really big into medical dramas. However, it's different, and like you're hooked. Like it's a fast-paced moving show. They were hour long and it's 15 episodes. But man, when I tell you when it's over, you're like, gotta fucking wait now. Like that's the vibe that you get, because like there's no breathing room at all in this show. It literally bleeds from one, like it's, you're watching it as the, like literally the episode titles are the hour of in which they're in the ER. So like once the episode ends, it picks up immediately where it left off and it can just continue. So I like to binge it because I feel like it's one continuous, like
one
you're
day.
in the day in the life. Yeah. However, when now we officially caught up right before the finale, I'm like, I gotta wait now.
Damn.
This sucks. And also I hate their breaks because it's never a good stopping point for you to be like, oh, that's a nice ending point. No, they stop at a high octane moment, and then you gotta like immediately watch to see what happens next, which is where they get you. It was so funny because we were watching it. We had a couple stocked up during season 2, and there was a nice stopping moment at the end of episode 7 or so. And I told Megan's like, this is a nice stopping point if we want to stop here and like catch up, because I think there was like, we were like maybe 3 more episodes to catching up. And she's like, no, I agree. This is a good stopping point. So we stopped watching for like a month because we were so happy with the stopping point, and we watched other shows. And then I think we were focusing on Shrinking, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. And then after that, after we finished Shrinking, then we continued on to continue watching. And it's like, again, picks up right and just goes back and moving. And it's hard. Like we watched like 3 in a day. Like
Damn.
it's long, but it's easy viewing, kind of. I say that lightly, but it's a lot going on. But like you get wrapped into it. It's a great show.
Okay.
But moving on to the other great comedy that's on TV right now, Shrinking. That just ended this past week. Season 3 just wrapped up. And what's interesting about this show is that the creators of Shrinking already came out and said that we're renewed for a 4th season. The cast is returning, but we're going to be focusing on other things. When they originally pitched it to Apple TV, they had a 3-season arc, very similar to Ted Lasso. However, I think they were more prepared that if they were going to do more, what is that story going to be? Whereas Ted Lasso, they had to take a long break, reevaluated what the show is going to be, and now we're getting a Ted Lasso season 4 coming out later this year. But I think they had they had more of a forethought with Shrinking. So they've already stated that Shrinking's coming back in 2027. We're coming back for a 4th season, and we're bringing back the same characters, but we're going to be focusing on a different topic. And so I find that really interesting. And after watching the entirety of season 3, it makes sense. There was a lot of doors that they closed, and it definitely felt more of like a finale of sorts with that particular story that they were telling throughout the course of 3 seasons. And again, between comedy and heart and like jokes per minute, this show, knocks it out of the park.
I can't. Unfortunately, I'm behind now because so this was originally a me show, and then I got Hannah interested, and now it's an us show, and I got to wait for her to catch up, for me to finish to continue on with season 3. I think I watched the pilot because I remember briefly talking about it, and this show it's just so good. This is one that I like out of all of them. This one's probably my favorite just because it's more on the heartfelt side. Like there is a lot of comedy for it, but it leans heavier on the heartfelt side, and I guess I just enjoy that from this show more.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments where I'm like laughing my ass off, and then by the end of the episode, I'm like a tear is coming down. You're like, fuck, man,
damn it,
that's some heavy. Yeah, they got me again. And Harrison Ford, man, if this isn't a role for him, it's like he's had one hell of a career. So like to go on like his later end of his life and later end of his career, pumping out this shit, like incredible work from Harrison Ford. I love him in this season. There's the pilot even brought in Michael J. Fox for the whole Parkinson's things that Harrison Ford's character has. And then they brought in Michael J. Fox as like somebody else who obviously has Parkinson's. And they brought him back a few times, but the first time that in the pilot they brought him in, and Harrison Ford goes into the waiting room, and they're waiting to be called up by their doctor, and he sits next to Michael J. Fox, and they're both having a conversation. And I was like, and I paused it, and I was like, Megan, look at this. This is fucking legendary. You have fucking Marty McFly talking to Indiana Jones. Like, that's like, I don't think that's ever happened on screen before. That's crazy, right? And then like Harrison Ford gets called up. He's like, hey, Paul, you're next. And then so then he walks away, and they go like with the phrase "fuck Parkinson's." He goes, "Fuck Parkinson's," and they kind of walk away. And then the shot lingers on Michael J. Fox, and he goes, "What the fuck? I was here first." I died when I told you I had to pause it, and I lost it for at least 5 minutes.
That was great timing.
That was great timing. And then it cuts to the opening credits. I was like, this is how you're gonna start this season? Amazing. Let's go.
I think I might have seen more than episode 1, because I feel like I remember learning the realization of who Michael J. Fox's character is.
Well, no, that's not the case.
Oh, so even that's not the case. Okay, because
that's not the case. Okay. No. It was for the episode. It wasn't for the season.
Ah, okay. So that makes sense now.
So I would say this: the first interaction was the real Michael J. was the real character.
Yes.
The second time you see him, it wasn't a hallucination.
Got it.
You see him again in other episodes, and it is actually the character.
Okay.
To not a little bit of a spoiler for you, they don't really harper on the hallucination part that much at all. Like, it was very much for that episode. However, again, talking about a moment pertaining to Michael J. Fox that had me dying laughing in the beginning of the episode, then it brought me to tears at the end of it when you realize that at that moment Michael J. Fox was a hallucination to Harrison Ford's character, Paul, for the context of that moment, and you're like, damn, man, he's getting the thick of it now. And this is what the show does, and I think it does a really great job of it. It did it very well with Ted Lasso, obviously with Shrinking, and I'm hoping it does the same thing with Rooster, with Steve Carell.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I can. I'm excited. I can't wait to dive in and like finally finish the season.
Yeah, it's a really good season. Like I said, it definitely feels like a finale of sorts. So I'm really interested to see how they move forward after this season.
Okay.
What type of new direction they want to go into.
Yeah.
And with that, the last show we're going to be talking about in this week's episode is the new season of Ted. And Ernesto and I have watched the full season of Ted, so we will be talking a little bit spoilers on this one. But I would just come out and say it. This show continues to surprise me.
It's so fucking funny. It's so not politically correct. It's so fucking raunchy. But damn if this shit isn't funny. Like, it's just so, I think my favorite episode was the Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Yes. Yes. It was so good how that was orchestrated.
Yes. It's just like from the whole reason they're playing Dungeons and Dragons to them playing and like seeing like the actual adventure play out. Like, I just thought it worked. So it was just such a well-written episode. It was just really well done. And just like, what was the other one? I think it might have been the finale when they're trying to the whole where they were using the phone at the school to call the phone sex operator and all the shit.
I think that was the premiere.
Or it might have been the premiere. But then like he goes through like all this shit to like he like jumps the car over the thing and he falls down and he's like, "Oh, I'm fine." And he's like bleeding. He walks into school, he's bleeding. It's just so fucking it's just so random. Or when Ted gets drunk with the girl and he like, does he throw up cotton? He
does. He throws up cotton. Yes.
And they like make out and stuff. It's just so weird. It's so weird, but damn, it's so funny. Oh,
but also
hold on. Sorry, I just remembered when they're doing the play.
Yeah.
And Okay, so they're doing the play on the stage, and they eat the wheat. Was it wheat chocolate? Yes, they eat the wheat chocolate
or shrooms,
or something like that's what it was. They thought it was just weed, but then they find out it has shrooms in it. The sister or cousin calls them freaking out, and they go on stage. And I thought the way it was edited was actually really funny.
It was
because you cut to them and they're whispering and they're like, I don't know. I can't even do it without laughing. They're like, I don't know if anybody knows that we're high. I think if we just stand here and be quiet, it's fine. And then you cut to a wide shot from behind the audience and they're fucking yelling at each other. Like screaming at each other. I don't know if anybody knows that we're high. I don't know if anybody can see how high on drugs we are. And they're like, what the fuck? It's just like, I feel like every episode there was just some wild shit. Like something wild happens in every single episode. Oh, one more.
Yeah.
I think this one was the finale. When they have the Bill Clinton impersonator come in.
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
And it's really Seth MacFarlane with like, and this is like a big thing. Really? I believe so.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm gonna see if I can find the photo, but I'm almost positive that it is him. Because
Yeah, you're right. It says Ted and Bill Clinton. Yeah, you're right.
But they digitally recreated his face to look like. Yeah, the only reason I know that is because there was an article that came out that Seth MacFarlane, the only thing he used as AI was for that, because like the show's already crazy expensive, because they have to do all the CGI for Ted, and Ted is not just standing there in every shot. He's walking, he's doing action, that shit. Like that's a lot of digital composition that has to be done. But like they were saying, just for cost and time, that they used AI to create his face. But I thought that moment itself was so funny. Like we get this whole build up the whole season where the dad fucking hates Bill Clinton, always talking shit about him, and he gets this moment to tell him what he's like, I don't think you're a good president. He's like, oh, let me hear your concerns. And then they close the door. He's like, come here, you little bitch. He's like, what? He's like, how about I come in here to your little shitty coffee shop and I got to hear all this shit? He's like, how about you just shake my fucking hand? He's like, quit being a little bitch. Come here and smile for the camera. I mean, it was great. It was just...
that. So I was watching this. I had downloaded the last 4 episodes on my iPad because I was watching on the plane.
Yeah.
I had watched the first 4 episodes at home, and I was watching the remaining 4 on the plane ride when Megan and I went to Vegas for a couple of days, and I was off for a week. And so I was watching on the plane, and then so she's watching her own thing. I'm watching Ted, and then all of a sudden I just see like Megan just kind of looking at look at my screen, and she goes, "Is that Bill Clinton?"
Like, what the fuck are you watching?
and then she we shared the audio with our AirPods, and she watched the rest of the series with me because she was like, "Oh, this is funny." And so like she was like, I don't think she really cared about watching Ted, but then she was just happened to be, next to me when you're watching. She's like, "Oh, this is actually really funny." And it's great. It's so good.
Yeah.
And like that bit was incredible. Like the fact he was like, "Oh, I'd love to hear your concerns. You mind just closing the door for me? Thank you very much. Listen here, little bitch. I don't have time. You see, I'm going over here. I'm trying to go to your shitty donut shop. Now here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna put some fucking donuts in that box. You just shake my hand. And you look at the camera. You're gonna be nice to me. Whatever the hell he's saying." And then he was like, and then he eats the donut. He throws it at him.
That's right. It's like,
and then like
you.
This tastes. Yeah, he's like, this tastes like fucking shit. And then like he opens the door. It's like, "Hey, everybody."
Hey.
It was so good. Also, the fact that Susan, the mother, went to jail for
that's right, for the weed possession. It's
the
weed
possession.
And then she becomes like the prison mom.
The house mom, yes. And then the house was going into disarray this whole time.
Yes.
And then I think it was the last episode. Yeah, it was the last episode where like they was following the OJ trials, and he really wanted him to be guilty or not guilty. One of the two. And
he wanted
him
to be guilty. He wanted him to be guilty. That's what it is. He wanted him to be guilty.
Yes, you're right. You're right, to be guilty. But then he had a recent heart attack, and to avoid him getting, they had to keep him calm, and they knew that he was gonna be pissed when they heard the real verdict. So then they went this whole elaborate ruse to come up with a fake newspaper, and he was like, "The galumps! Who doesn't know about the galumps?" And he goes,
funny about that is hearing the son and Ted, like they're so invested in this entire newspaper that they created from scratch that he's like, what do you think about this episode of the Galumps? He's like, yeah, but what if this character is this and that? It's like he's so emotionally invested to make sure that he enjoys it.
They're like, classic Galumps.
Classic Galumps.
And he's like, did you read the paper on this? And then they also went out of their way to get the teacher to be an actor for the news because
try to give him a backstory. Oh, he's sleeping with the weather woman.
To your point, it's so random. However, there is a little bit of heart in there.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of like commentary on how things were viewed back in the 80s, as well as how things are being viewed today. We have the cousin who's more of the straight man, like the voice of reason in this whole scenario. So like I think the inclusion of her character almost justifies all of the raunchy and racist stuff that other people are saying. Because to me, it just showcases that the show is aware of what they're saying and what they're doing is wrong, because you have this character who is like the voice of reason. However, it elevates the funny because we know that the whole show is in on the joke, rather than you just be like, oh, this is like cringy comedy.
Yes.
And what's really interesting, and what I love about this TED series is the fact that how much it has, like how much Seth MacFarlane has evolved as a creator.
Yeah.
Like I think we primarily saw it when he was doing the Orville. We loved the Orville. We talked a lot about it a few years ago when it was like on air, and he's even said like we have another season written and ready to go. We just don't have time to film it and produce it. Everyone's busy, and you know, even after the latest season of the Orville, he went on to move on to do the TED season 1 and 2. That was his focus. Now, what sucks though is that some great stuff is coming out of it, and I think what's also great about the show is that it's such an evolution to what the first 2 movies were.
Yeah,
like that was a different creator back, a different Seth MacFarlane back in 2012. He was telling different jokes, and I came out and said, you know, when the first season came out, that season, like TED 1, the first movie, doesn't hold up as much as I'd like it to, because the jokes just don't land the same anymore. Like a lot of the jokes, like the humor just hits differently. We've definitely don't find things were funny in 2012 are just not funny now, and it's a little bit racist, a little bit controversial, and probably at the time it was that too, but it was a little bit funnier then. Now, you know, coming in 2026, not as funny as it used to be. However, I think the show even acknowledges that and does a really good job of balancing that comedy. And we did see that a lot with the Orville, where the Orville felt more of a sci-fi drama with a sprinkle of comedy, but this one is very much a comedy, and it's definitely a raunchy comedy, but it does a really good job with like finding that balance between the raunchiness and a little bit of the seriousness and the social commentary that it's saying. And what sucks about this at the end of the day is that even Seth MacFarlane has come out and said, yeah, we don't really have any plans for a season 3 at the moment because the show is so expensive. Instead, we're moving on potentially to do a TED animated series following the events after TED 2. So going back to an adult John and the adventures there, but it's focusing on an animated, probably because it's cheaper at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, it feels like it loses a little bit of the magic when it's going to be an animated format. However, if this is how we are going to get more content with TED, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I could watch it, because then it's like Family Guy, but TED.
Yes. Yeah, with TED.
Also, for context, here's that digital. Here's what they did for him as Bill Clinton.
That's crazy.
Like that's Seth MacFarlane. That's not Bill Clinton. You can kind of see it better in this shot, where you can kind of see it looks a little bit more like Seth MacFarlane there. But still, even still, I mean, he looks great. What a great scene. For those who haven't seen it, even if you just watch this scene, it's just well worth your time.
Yeah, it's surprisingly, this show continues to surprise me.
Yeah.
Like this show has no reason to be this good. Based off of an IP that almost felt like people forgot about. Like you had your 2 movies and then you move on. But I think the show just showcases like how much you know how much legs this TED franchise has on it. Like there's a lot of material here you can work with, and I think they did a really good job exploiting that. And I hope they can move forward with this animated series and is just as funny, because I think the joke that TED does and like his reactions to certain things, it's just so good.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
This is definitely up there, arguably. Like I think early 2026, between we were talking about the last three shows we were talking about, like those are up there for like some of the best comedies on TV right now.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so let's move on to some movies that we've been watching, and I'll start off with some of the ones that I've been watching that Ernesto has not. These next few movies we're going to talk about is movies that were currently in theaters. I think now most of them, if not, no, just these two actually. The other two are still in theaters right now. But excuse me. The first one I'll talk about is How to Make a Killing, starring Glenn Powell. Overall, I thought this movie was fine. It was good. Glenn Powell always has this charm to him that I can feel like I can watch him in anything. I think he has a great leading star power. However, I feel like the character's a little bit one note. And at the end of the day, it just kind of stayed on that one noteness. It could have dove deeper a little bit, but it just didn't really go that far. This movie is from A24, and just like how the it kind of says it all right there in the tagline of the movie here: $28 billion in inheritance, 7 relatives standing in his way, and he's kind of working his way up, kind of killing his relatives just to get the inheritance. But there's a little bit more to that than just that, but that's basically the bulk of the story. Eventually you get a little repetitive, and there's like Margaret Qualley's character just doesn't land for me, just kind of feels random. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth seeing, just not a big rush to go and watch it. I think this is definitely one of those movies that if you catch it on streaming, that's probably where it lands better.
Okay.
And the other one, this one's a wild movie. It says, "Good luck, have fun, don't die." This very much had the vibes of Everything Everywhere All at Once, in the sense that it was wildly original.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I would give it credit for just kind of just going for it. Like, it is, I could not tell you where we were going next. I feel like it's one of those situations where the less you know about it, the better.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and Sam Rockwell is great in it, and I just knew where it was going. And I think at the end of the day, it has a really good kind of message, a little bit about, like, definitely great social commentary on how we use tech today.
Mm.
And there is still a lot of mystery with this movie that the movie didn't really bother to explain. However, I was willing to look past it because of how kind of crazy the storyline is. And then as crazier that it got, I was like, I'm just along for the ride, because this is kind of nuts and very similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once. There is a through line there that kind of makes sense. It doesn't pack the same emotional punch as Everything Everywhere All at Once, but the vibes are there. Like, just like, think of all the crazy shit that's happening in that movie, and this one's doing just about that. And it definitely feels random, but it kind of sort of makes sense at the end of the day. And the director, Gore Verbinski, he's mainly responsible for making Pirates of the Caribbean. That's like his main blockbuster movie. A couple of years ago, he came out with a movie called A Cure for Wellness, which didn't really quite hit that well. But also another wild original concept, but just didn't land with audiences. And I feel like with this one as well, it just didn't go around and getting the recognition that it deserves. But this feels like a director that was like, look, I made Pirates, and I make a lot of money with Pirates. Now I have all the money that I can do whatever the fuck I want. And this is what it feels like he's doing. Like, he's responsible for directing Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. He is responsible for the Pirates trilogy. He is set for life at that point. That movie's always going to be making money, and he's responsible for that. Because literally the next movie after that he did was Rango, also starring Johnny Depp, and The Lone Ranger. And that was like the last, like, The Lone Ranger was the last Disney project that he worked on, like the last big budget. After that, he did A Cure for Wellness, which was in 2016. And then he's probably just like doing whatever he wants to do. And the next movie is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And I think it's definitely, if you're looking for something new and interesting and weird, I would recommend that movie for anyone. I think it's currently on VOD. Eventually, it will probably hit streaming. But yeah, I definitely, for you, Ernesto, check this movie out. We'll talk about more spoilers and more of a deep diver conversation on that.
All right. Well, I guess that one's gonna have to go to the top of the list then.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It might not be for everybody, but it's interesting. And the next two movies I want to talk about are currently in theaters right now. We have Pixar's latest movie called Hoppers, and it's fun. It's funny. It's a DreamWorks movie. That's the short of it all.
Mm.
It has the Pixar heartfelt moments, but doesn't hit as deep as other Pixar movies has done it. There is definitely a clear message in there. It is a fun time, but at the end of the day, it takes certain liberties with its concept. And when I look at a Pixar movie, this is just me. I hit some sort of realism that comes with it. And like you can introduce the concept of like talking toys, monsters in your closet. Like, here's this monster world. Here's this Cars world. Like, I get it. Like, when it starts making sense within the context of the story that you're presenting, that's the groundedness that I'm talking about. It makes sense. Like, you have these one or two things that are the anomaly, but the rest of it kind of makes sense on the greater scheme of the bigger world.
Yeah.
The same thing for Up and Wall-E and even Ratatouille. Like, yes, all those things are not real, obviously. However, like, it's grounded within the story that it's telling. This one, the concept is that you have this like basically it was funny because they make fun of it in the movie and in the trailer, like it's like Avatar, like your brain just goes from one thing to another. So in this case, this girl is for make a long story short, has her brain into the mind of a robotic beaver. It's not a real beaver, it's a robotic beaver. And then she's going around and she's interacting with all the animals in the forest, and there's a reason why, without giving away any spoilers, or the reason why that she's doing that. About halfway through the movie, and I'm already not feeling it halfway in, to be honest with you. Like, I was like, okay, I get the message that we're going for. I get the emotional beats that we're also striving for. Second half of this movie takes certain liberties with the concept, and that's when it lost me. I was like, okay, all right, this is now DreamWorks territory. We're definitely in favor of like we're just having fun with this idea, and there's nothing wrong with it, but just not something I'd expect from Pixar, if you know what I mean. Like, this is definitely something that Illumination and DreamWorks would do, which again, not necessarily a bad thing, just not something I would expect from Pixar. I didn't hate the movie. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but just not the movie for me. So I think I gave it like a 3.5 stars, if I'm not mistaken. Like, there's some good stuff in here, but at the end of the day, it's like a little below mid tier Pixar for me.
Oh, so it sounds like wait for it to hit streaming is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, wait for Disney Plus.
All right.
I don't think there's a big rush into theaters. However, it did very well in the box office.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's still cracking the top 5 right now. I think it was holding strong as far as like an animated kids offering up until now. Super Mario Galaxy came out. Now that's definitely the big one that all the the families are going to. But I think this held a good spot for the month that it had it for.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just not for me.
Not your
not
cup
my
of tea.
Pixar. Not my cup of tea. I'm very much looking forward to see what Toy Story 5 brings for that.
I think we all are.
Yes. And the last movie that I saw that's gonna be talking about is They Will Kill You. Basically the newest action movie from ZZ Bates. And it's fun. Again, it tries to be John Wick, doesn't quite do it. A little bit ready or not has a little bit of vibe of that too. Basically one man army type of vibes into it. You have people who are trying to kill her, and there's a reason why she's like she definitely was preparing for this moment. She has all these skills that she was preparing for, and she's basically being a badass. What I give this movie credit for, and I also applaud the trailer for not spoiling, is that there is one element in this movie that I was not expecting. And I was like, oh, okay. We just added another layer to this. And then it made it a lot more interesting. At the end of the day, it doesn't like quite hold up to the genres that it's trying to replicate and honor, but it's a pretty solid movie nonetheless. I think I'm around the 3.5 on this one as well. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, I give it credit for just going for it, because there are some bonkers things toward the end of this movie where I'm like, all right, this is what it is. This is what's happening right now. And I give it credit for it. But at the end of the day, it was like it could have been deeper than it actually was. It just didn't quite hit the mark for me. But I applaud it for just going for some of its crazy concept that it ended up going into.
Okay.
And again, I applaud the trailer for kind of giving me a movie that I really wasn't expecting, because I definitely thought I was going into one version of this movie, and it was that, but they definitely left out a big twist in this part that I applaud for them not spoiling.
Okay. All right.
Again, another one of those that you can probably wait for it to be on streaming and you'll be just as fine.
All right. So now let's go
all
into
right.
the our shared category here.
Yes. And this is a movie that you had watched earlier, like a few episodes ago. And, we said we'll talk about this more when I had watched it, and now I watched it. But just as a reminder, what were your thoughts on this movie?
I thought it was okay. I think when I initially watched it, I wanted more than what they were putting out. Like I saw room for a much deeper or a better story, and I just feel like what we got was like an underwhelming version of what we could have gotten. Like it could have been, I feel like it just could have been this just much bigger, greater thing with this really emphasis. Like, I mean, it was a really interesting plot that they had laid out where, the love of somebody who you initially fell in love with is taken away from you, but then you have this entire life with this other person, but then now you're faced with this decision between somebody who you initially fell in love with and somebody who you shared a life with. I think that
Yeah.
I think that concept alone for me was so intriguing. Like I was so interested to see how that would play out, and I just felt like they didn't go in that direction really exploring that. It was more about like this weird afterlife that was like kind of like an airport terminal, like almost like this weird limbo for everybody, and it was more of an exploration of that than what I thought. Like they had like different weird eternities that you can go to. It was like
Yes.
the bromance eternity, or like the lawyer eternity, or the beach eternity.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. This concept could have been much deeper if they focused more on the characters and less about the world that they were building.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies where I'm like, introduce a world, but let's focus on these characters. But yet we got so much details about this world that really didn't mean much of anything.
No.
And then when we were going back to these characters, even Elizabeth Olsen's character was going all over the place. Like she made like 3 different decisions.
Yeah.
And by the end of this movie. And it's just weird that that's the angle they went for. And at the end of the day, honestly, it just came to me just now. This very much felt like Upload.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Which I didn't finish.
But neither did I. I don't think I ever got past. I think we had started the second season but never finished it.
Yeah.
I think I ended up going through like 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah. I think we watched the first 2 and then we started the 3 and we're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. And I feel like the similar to Upload and also exploring the afterlife, where we have an interesting concept, but didn't know what to do with it to give it meaning.
Yes. Exactly that. Exactly that.
Yeah. And that's what sucks, because you have some great actors that are a part of this too. But yeah, I agree with you. It just didn't hold up to what the concept could have been.
And then maybe that's my fault. Like I think I put in my head that it was going to be more than what it actually was.
Sure, but I mean that's fair. I mean this is what the trailers opened up.
Yeah.
We just
that's
didn't realize
true.
what the trailer didn't provide was that, oh, we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about the different worlds you can go into, but it doesn't really matter to the actual plot of the movie.
Exactly. Or like we didn't even really spend a lot of time looking at the different worlds, and
No.
I don't know. And then they made Miles Teller, like they made him like kind of like an idiot. I don't know. Like it just
A little bit. Also, it just doesn't really make any sense. Like the whole world that they presume. Like I had more questions about the world, and I should be more or less focusing on what decision this character needs to make. But also, I don't know. You can even go into the argument of like, does she really need to make a decision? Like what is this? What is this world even presenting? What are the questions? What are the things that they're even offering? Like it just seems like it doesn't feel like we have to do any of this. Like it doesn't feel like it just feels weird.
yeah.
At the end of the day, like you have to pick this place where you're going to for the rest of your afterlife. Like, okay, but then if you don't do it, then you're in scrutiny. You're going to this black hole, and technically that doesn't really happen either. But did they get away? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't. There's a lot of questions that I had that distracted me from the overall, like these characters basically.
Yeah. They're like, oh, there's some worlds that are just not socially acceptable anymore. It's like, okay.
Right.
I don't know. It was a weird, like it was just weird. There was just like weird notions that they put into it that just made it feel off. Like it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would say what 2.5, 3.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that. Leaning more towards the 2.5, just because
Yeah.
I was so invested for something way different.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's that.
There's that.
Moving on to Is This Thing On, the new movie from Bradley Cooper, starring Will Arnett and Laura Dern. This was in the early conversations of the award season, but just never got the traction and didn't really go anywhere. It was also a bit in one of the award shows where Will Arnett and and Channing Tatum were like, "Oh, look, voice acting, blah blah blah," and they're like, "Oh, you should do more serious work," and definitely making a comment on this movie that it was more serious for him, but
Yeah.
no one really talked about it. But your thoughts on this one?
I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting analysis between marriage, divorce, and happiness, and kind of see that play out through them going through their divorce, and then obviously at the end, like they have this rekindling, and like she sees this different side of him and sees his growth, and kind of like they see the growth within each other, and like how he would see her. He put up this picture of her, and she's like, "Well, that's not me." But that's how he sees her. And then him kind of
Yeah.
going through that realization at the end, he takes it down and puts up the picture she asked him to see because, for her, that was like a whole other person. And that's the person who she had to let go. And like, I think that I thought that was really interesting because you do see that in marriages where like you do grow as a person, but you also have to leave behind some of the person who you were before. And then it's like, or what are you giving up? But you're not really giving it up. You're really training it for this next phase of your life. So I thought it was interesting to see them both do that because they both had this arc where they kind of found themselves. His was like through despair, like he was going through his divorce and he needed an outlet. And then that comedy turned into like a free
therapy.
like a free therapy
Yeah.
session for him. And he found out he was already good at this thing. But then you also see her kind of go through something similar where she's able to rekindle that interest she had in her before with her for volleyball and almost going to the Olympics, but now seeing it in the eyes of a coach and kind of like taking that thing but going to the next level of that thing because you're too old to be a player, but you can still help groom the players who are coming up now, and that's kind of a way for you to relive your glory days, which we had a crazy cameo. Was that Eli Manning, right?
No, that was Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. So see, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't watch the football, but I do know. I was like, he looks like somebody who plays sports. I'm just kidding. I knew
You look like a Manning.
you look like a Manning. Don't you play the football? You play the football. But I actually thought it was really interesting because what really cued me onto this movie, I had already seen the trailer and I was vaguely interested. And I actually ended up listening to the interview that Bradley Cooper, he went on to Joe Rogan's show and he kind of was talking, he was just kind of promoting the movie. And they were talking about how they actually went into the Comedy Cellar and like those scenes where he's doing comedy, it's a mix between actors and real people. So there's certain people who like didn't even know. So it was interesting to see that, just the kind of the level of realism that Bradley Cooper puts into making his films. And, when they call up Dave Attell, I was like, oh shit, that's like a world renowned, that's like a real comedian. Like he's like a real renowned comedian. And it kind of, even though he had like a small bit in the movie, but it was interesting to see him in there. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great narrative. I really enjoyed the arc that they kind of laid out for all these characters. And even kind of like Bradley Cooper's character where like, he was jealous of him, and even though Will Arnett, you can see that Will Arnett's character was kind of also jealous of him. So they had kind of like this weird back and forth. Once he saw him going through his divorce, he's like, I'm gonna do the same thing. But then him and his wife ended up getting back together, and I felt like maybe that was like a kindling for him to like, oh well, like we can get back together, and that's kind of like maybe what kickstarted it. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with this as well. I watched this on the plane as well, and quite honestly, the movie is a little bit slow, but also there's enough that kind of keeps you moving forward. When I tell you that I was like on the edge of my seat when Laura Dern and Peyton Manning walked in to the comedy to the comedy bar or whatever they were. And he's walking walking to the stage, preparing for like this big moment for him, and I was like, oh my god, like this is movie magic right here. Not something I wasn't even expecting, not something that even came across my mind of a possibility that could happen. But then all of a sudden, when she's like having a good time with Peyton Manning and was like, oh, we should get out of here. It was at that moment it dawned on me, was like, oh shit, they're gonna go to the comedy club. Like, oh shit. And then like she's walking in and I'm like, and then the music is hyping up too. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be so bad.
But and then not only that, but then his whole set in that moment, he literally is talking about first time sleeping with another woman, and he starts talking about like time with his wife. But I thought was really interesting is that like he didn't really badmouth her. Like he talked about her, but he didn't really badmouth her. And I think that's when she realized that's when she realized like she was still in love with him, because she kind of because when he was talking about how he missed her, the camera cuts to her and they show her kind of giving him that look. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's like you could see like, oh, it's still there. Like she still wants him. They're gonna, and then of course like immediately after they start their thing back together again.
Right. Like they're secretly together but don't want to tell anybody as they're actively going through a divorce. So there's like that type of dynamic that's happening.
I actually thought that was a really funny setup, because then like they go to the house and they're acting like they're still divorced, and then they have that moment where they sneak off into the room and they're kind of talking to each other and they separate a little bit. And usually you see people do that, you get the feeling like, oh, they're like doing whatever, they're doing stuff. But then her friend's like, didn't I tell you guys no arguing here? It's like, this is why this is why I hate you.
Yeah, and I thought there was a lot of interesting dynamics that was going on, and definitely like, again, it was a little bit slow. However, like you can see that they were both going through something. They've been together for so long, and they're kind of separating. And to your point, at the end of the day, they were both looking at different versions of themselves, and it feels like they've checked out. And then, like you see, Will Arnett feels like he was checking out, but in actuality, it was her checking out first that made him check out, because like she had to sacrifice giving up her career to be with his family, and they were very content doing this one thing. But then she was the one that wanted to do the divorce, and so they got into his head, and it's like it almost like they needed the separation for them to come back and realize that they wanted to be with each other. And at the end of the day, I don't think they actually really got back together to the point that like they were madly in love with each other and they're willing to rekindle their marriage. However, what it looked like to me was that they were willing. He's like, are you willing to be unhappy with me for the rest of your life? And it was almost like one of the situations where, like, I wouldn't say that they're settling, but they understand that at this point in their life, they don't need to be the persons that they were, but they have, like, they're able to live together and be each other's partner, but not necessarily need to be in love with each other to be partners with one another, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think it's that thing of where like you're not always in love with. It's not even, and it's kind of weird. You're not always like in love with your partner, but it's not even that being in love with. It's that you're a human being who goes through different emotions and you feel things for a different day. But this is a person who you can drop your mask with and just be yourself. But that also means like there's going to be times we're going to be together for X amount of time. There's going to be time where you're not going to be happy with me and I'm not going to be happy with you. But it's how do we get through this unhappiness together? And I think that to me, it's like when you say like, let's be unhappy together, it's like, to me, that's like, let's be okay with going through the shit through each other. And she even said it. She's like, you know, I want to be unhappy with you because I want to feel like you have my back. And it's not this adversarial you versus me. I agree with you. It was kind of slow, but I think it needed to be to kind of unpack all the things that they unpacked in this movie. I just felt like it was a real, like they bring you on a ride through these different characters. And I feel like you get a sense of who they are and what they're going through. Like it was slow, but I definitely was not bored throughout this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was not bored with it. Like it was like around 2 hours and it definitely flew by.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? I'm thinking like about 4 for me.
Yeah. I'm thinking a 4. It's a solid 4.
Solid 4. All right, let's move on to the next movie on this list. The Bluff.
Yes.
Starring I don't want to mispronounce her name.
Well, you're gonna have to know.
I know. Priyanka Chopra Jones. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I got
And
the
Carl
other one.
Urban.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got
There
the
you
other
go.
one. Carl Urban.
I got that one. Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. He's a pirate.
Got him.
He's a pirate.
He's a pirate now.
I have to tell you, I was on board with this movie pretty much right from the beginning. I mean,
Really?
yeah. I mean, it was just but for me, this is like a great movie for streaming because it's just kind of like balls to the wall action, very simplistic plot. But I have to tell you, even though the plot was simple, I actually really enjoyed Carl Urban's character. I just felt like he brought so much life to it. Like he in his delivery. Okay, so perfect example when he's like executing his quartermaster, like and he tells him, "Go be with your ancestors." Like he's doing the thing, and he's doing, he's the one killing him. But you can just for me in his delivery in that moment, I could tell that it was very like he didn't want to do it, but he felt like he had to do it. But like we didn't get that backstory. But to me, like I get the understanding. Well, they have history. They've been together for a long time, and like he feels like he has to do it because of his obsession with getting his goal. Actually, more obsession with the woman than he is with getting his goal.
With the treasure.
Yeah. But the movie itself is simple, but I felt like his moments, like even in the end when he's fighting her, and she stabs him right before he dies, and he goes, "My Mary," and he's like, obviously he was madly in love with her, and he was more upset that he lost her than he lost the money. They didn't tell us that, but in his delivery, I was able to get that from him. Does that make sense?
It was implied.
It was implied. He puts a lot of implications in his delivery, which I really enjoy. I mean, when they're the fight scene in the house and she stabs the guy in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the brother launches her and she goes outside and cracks the banister, and then they roll around and then she grabs a conch shell and then bashes his way in and like yelling at him. I mean, or even further when Carl Urban's like when he's taking over the beach. And they got the people who are hiding in the church, and he tells them to stay hiding in there. And then he gets the guy who's running the whole thing, and he blows him up with the cannon. Like literally holds him up and just blasts him. And then like they cut to like a much wider shot, and you kind of see it in the distance of his body just getting splayed all over the beach. I mean, it was just wild. It was just wild.
Yeah, I think what this movie really excels in for me is the action.
100%. The set pieces are incredible. They're so good.
Yeah, I do agree with you because quite honestly, I didn't watch a trailer for this. The only thing that got me was like it says the Bluff, and I think I saw like a some sort of, I forgot exactly what it was, but I was like, oh, Carl Urban, I know you. Like, what movie is this about? And I think I just saw pirates, and I was like, oh, this is a pirate movie? Oh, okay, I'm in. Like on board. Like we don't have a lot of good pirates movies. I want to. Like, I'll say whatever this movie's about. I don't know nothing about this movie. And I think, to your point, the takeover on the beach and the house fight, like her just going through every part of the house and grabbing different weapons and like taking down the goons. Great action stuff here. I think it gets a little bit bogged down by the story a little bit, to be honest. Like, I feel like we kind of lose some steam with the action, and then like they go down, and then we're focusing on who this character was. And exploring her past, and like she's trying to have that past behind her, but she's actually like a badass pirate that used to like be on the seas and all this stuff, and she's trying to leave that past behind, and then we're slowly trying to uncover it through the story. And I feel like that wasn't as engaging, but then we pick it right back up when the action starts. And so like overall, I thought it was like a really solid pirates movie. And I think it had some like really good grounded action in it. The story could have been a little bit better, but to your point, it was very simple.
But to me, this is a perfect movie for streaming. This is exactly where this movie belongs. And I think that's why it worked for me, because like it knew exactly what it was, and it just kind of went for it. Like it didn't try to be more than what it was. And
also, like Carl Urban. Like he should be headline the Pirates franchise. I'm just saying. I know there was
he's bad at, but you know what? He's fucking good in everything you put him in. He is, and I think this is kind of what I mean. Like any character, I just feel like he embodies that character. Whatever role he's doing, like you just believe that he is, like he's very easy. Like he is that person. Like doesn't like Billy the Butcher. He is, but like he is that character. Like Star
Billy the
Trek.
Butcher is his role.
That's what I mean. Like, and I
Yeah.
like with this, I felt the same way watching him with this. Like, I felt like damn, he really is that pirate. He really wants her back. Like, I felt very real about it.
They should, like, with the boys wrapping up and everything. I know they're still on the, they're trying to get another Pirates movie out there. Could take a couple more years. I know we're trying to get Johnny Depp back. I know there's a lot of rumors that like Margot Robbie is attached to like headlining a Pirates movie. I look at Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Like he could be a good pirate in
He's a
this
fucking
world.
badass. He's a bad. You get her too. I mean, she was great too, but he is a badass pirate. I 100%
Yeah.
agree.
I definitely enjoyed this movie. I think it could have been better.
100. Of course.
But where would you put this one?
I'm kind of in between a 3 and a 3.5. It's a solid action film.
Yes, very much so. I think, yeah, I have it at a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I think it was a really solid, like you said, solid movie for streaming.
Yeah.
And is this the last movie?
We have one more.
Oh, more. All right. And the last movie we're going to talk about today is Mercy, starring Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. This movie basically tanked at the box office.
Yes.
It did hit theaters, and it very quickly came to streaming, like basically within its 45-day window. It was like day 46, it's on Prime. And I was actually quite surprised when it did that, because I'm like, oh, okay, that was fairly quick. Just to give some context, the Rotten Tomato score is 25%.
Yeah, not great.
As opposed to the audience score, which is an 82%, which I was already on board of watching this movie. I thought the concept was interesting. But what's really had me interesting was like, whoa, the audience and the critics are very much separated on this particular one. So which side I was going to land on? And I'm going to have to say, I'm leaning toward the audience. Maybe not as high as 82, but it was a pretty damn good movie.
Let me tell you, I originally wrote this movie off. I was like, this movie looks like trash, doesn't look good. And I watched it, I said, wow, this shit is actually pretty good. Like I was actually on board. Like once he got into the chair, like how to take something so simple. It really is just Chris Pratt in a chair talking to Rebecca Ferguson. Like that's the whole basis of the movie. But I think just the way they integrated the use of AI and kind of like this world that they set up, they just made for a really, really interesting narrative. And of course, I'm just going to say, when we got, like, the first time they showed the sponsor on the phone, I was like, it's him. I already knew. I didn't need to know the reason, but I was like, they're lingering on him too much. I said, it's probably him. And then once we got closer to the end, I felt very justified towards the end when, you go through the whole thing and they figure out who he is. And you know what? They gave it a very interesting backstory to the reason of why he set it up, and like this this revenge story they set up and him taking it out. And I thought it was interesting to like use this old school detective using your gut as opposed to trusting the facts. I think they laid out an interesting scenario for us to look at both things and to kind of have that comparison for us to think about when we think about AI and when we think about human intuition. I think that it gave us a world to sit in, to think about, and made it interesting for us to think about those things. And I think for me, that's what I really enjoyed, because it's like old school detective work, but it is mixed with this quick AI. Like you have detective work, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you have all this information, but if you don't have the right person giving you the direction, then it's meaningless. So I loved it. I've really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It was really entertaining. It had a nice, good action sequence at the very end. That
was actually the only thing I didn't like.
You didn't like that at the end?
No, I thought it was like, I would have much rather. I did not like that we basically. So with his sponsor, the second time that he popped up, I was like, it's him. Like. I was like, okay, yeah, like we spent enough time, but not enough time to where like it was like quick and easy. But then it was like when you brought him back again, it's like, I keep talking about him, it's him. and I think from there, when we when they like officially told us that it was him, like they figured it out. It was when there was like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes left in the movie, and then we had this huge action scene at the end. I felt like that was a little much. Like you can tell your visual effects budget was not for that particular thing. Like I was like, all right, this is a little much here. Like they were getting outside of the then you had like this officer who was like on like this motorcycle like that hovers, but not everyone did that, and I hated that guy. I was like,
she
what
could just fly and go everywhere.
Where she was like, let me get up, and it goes. It was so slow. And it was like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
Why don't you just fly it? Just ride the car. It's faster.
It's faster. It was so like distracting. And then also like, I can tell the visual effects just weren't on par. Like you did not like, it just feel like it didn't have to be there. It almost felt like it was like a studio decision. Like we need big boom. And like, but like we couldn't just have Chris Pratt sitting in a chair and just talking to Rebecca Ferguson. I would have much preferred if the full 90 minutes was him trying to figure out the murder rather than that being the first hour and then having the last 30 minutes being basically something completely not different, but it turned into a different movie after that. And it had me for the first hour. I was locked in. And then after the reveal, it just got too much for me. And that's where it kind of lost me toward the end. However, I think it was a pretty solid movie. I'm not sure what the critics were looking at, but I thought it presented a lot of good stuff. And it also, not only like, I think the ticking time clock of 90 minutes really helped speed that along, really brought the pressure into trying to find it. Even I was a little confused. I was like, does it need to be 90 minutes? I feel like you can delay this time clock as much as you want, but that gave it some urgency to it. And I thought so. And I feel like, again, by the end of it, I did enjoy the movie. Just the final act just got a little too much. Calm down a little bit.
I could see that, but maybe this is I think this is another example where a movie that would have probably done good just going to streaming, because this is a perfect movie for streaming. Maybe like seeing it in the theaters is like, all right, this is too much.
and I did see it at home. I saw it on Prime when it dropped. I believe you did the same as well. So I think the medium was perfect for streaming. I don't think I needed to see that in the theater. And also, I think it already got a bad rep because this movie opened to $10 million in like January. Like it was January 22nd, not a big time for big releases. And then it opened to $10 million against the $60 million budget. So it was already getting like a lot of shit at the beginning at the end of the day. It's like there was already negative critic reviews on it, and then people were giving it more shit that it wasn't making any money. But at the end of the day, it made a solid return, $54 million worldwide. Not that bad against a $60 million budget. It did lose money, but it could have been a lot worse at the end of the day.
True. Very true. Very true.
But yeah, I'd give this another 3.5 for me. A solid 3.5 stars for my taste. All right, but there you go. That's everything that we've been watching. We did warn you it was going to be a hefty one. And we did. So with that, we're going to be diving into our spoiler review of Project Hail Mary. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to compare the two. And so with that, I kind of want to first start off with the book first.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So let's like talk about your thoughts on the book, and then we'll kind of quickly go over some of our comparisons. Or let's talk about the book. We'll talk about the movie, and then we'll talk about our comparisons. Let's try to do it that way, because we had a pre-conversation. We're gonna have our thoughts on this, but yeah.
All right, so let's start with the book.
Yes,
hands down, one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It's easily in my top 10 of all time favorite books. Like, I'm so glad that the movie coming out gave me an excuse to kind of like, out of everything I've been reading, kind of, put it in the forefront to be read initially, because like I feel like a different person after I read this book. Like I just there's so much to unpack here. What I really love is the emphasis on the science. Rocky's personality, I feel like it really sticks out in the book of how annoyed he gets with Grace. Like you get more of who he is, like as a person, like calling him dumb, and like how, they talk about how good he is at math and how great of an engineer he is. Let's see what else. I love the, obviously the science representation. There's something I really love. So at the end of chapter 25, there's the initial bittersweet goodbye between Rocky and Grace, and them double checking each other's experiments just to kind of like delay time from being apart from each other. I just thought it was like a really bittersweet, beautiful moment. Like they just went through all of this together, and then they're like, oh, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah, yeah. I mean, even when Grace leaves, that he set up a way to track Rocky was in the
Yeah.
distance, just so he can keep an eye on him by checking his IR light from his ship, like so he can pinpoint. He's like, well, and that obviously plays later into the book as well. Something I really love from Strat, in the book, she talks about like the Chinese famine in 1940, just kind of talking about like how people are gonna be at each other's throat, because this is her trying to tell Grace that he needs to go on this mission. You know, that it's important to know that in the book how everything, including the Roman Empire and wars and takeovers, was all about food. And I thought like that once we hit this famine, like it's gonna come a point where we're gonna be in that same boat if this mission does not succeed. For me, the hardest part of the book is in chapter 29 when Rocky has a realization that Grace has to kill himself, that he killed himself to save Rocky. He looks at him, he's like, Grace no die. We'll figure out a way. And I just felt like in the book you really get that emotional impact of his relationship with him and all this time they spent together and like how much he actually means to him. But to me, it's just like a beautiful book about friendship and finding friends in unlikely places. We get that hopefulness that they talk about and how everybody came together to make Project Hail Mary. And I felt like that translated him to going back to that's what translated him going back to save Rocky. And what a way for Grace to redeem himself for not being courageous initially, because he was forced to be put on the mission. Like he initially, they had to basically put him under, and they told him that, Strat told him that he had to go, that there is no other option. But then at the end of the book, he has this moment where he has a chance to redeem himself, where he has a choice. He can go back and just save himself, or he can make an actual sacrifice and go back and save his friend. And obviously he goes back. And I feel like in the book that this moment hits, it hits so hard because he has that choice of leaving the Beetle, of just going back with the Beatles and leaving the other planet to die. But he chooses to go back and save his friend, and him and Rocky having that conversation about intelligent life and beings on other planets. And like, there could be so many others that are in that right spot from the sun that could have that life that is willing to be saved, like he did for Rocky. And then, Matt and I, we went back and forth. There's so many different aspects in the book. Something that I actually really love the ending where Grace is an old man, and it kind of ties into the science where they talk about time dilation and like the different gravities on different Earth, and how the gravity on Rocky's Earth is different, so it's causing his bones to deteriorate differently. And then that plays into a factor because he has to Grace is essentially sacrificing himself for a lower quality of life, so that he could have helped his friend. And in that you find out that Earth did save himself. So he's in this planet this entire time, not knowing if they make it, and he finally gets the realization that they made it. Their sun is brighter, that his plan worked, and they give him the choice to go back, and he chooses not to stay there with his friend, because even if he were to go back through space time dilation and how long it would take him to get there, that like everybody who he knows would be gone, like they're already dead and gone, because so many years have already passed, and how much longer it would take him to get there. It's a beautiful book. I absolutely one that I'll definitely reread.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I first started the book, I feel like with books, and I typically do audiobooks, it's the same how I approach video games. And it's like I just have to get it started. And then once I get there, I'm good. But it takes like a really hard barrier for me to get moving with one of these. Like it's not as easy for me to start a TV show or movie. The books and the video games are a little bit more. I gotta like really be in the mood to do the one. So definitely the movie coming out was definitely a big push for it. And it's funny, after like the first two chapters, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this. There's a lot of science dialogue that's being projected. Like I wasn't a fan at the beginning of Ray Porter as the voice. Like it was like I think it was just me getting in the way of like just getting past like the hump
Mhm.
of like starting another audiobook. But very quickly I got into it. I was like, okay, I can see where we're going. I can see this. I can see that. I can understand what we're doing. I bumped up the speed to 1.5 because it was better for me to listen to it that way than just normal speed. Um, and and what to me was shocking that I actually enjoyed more than I thought I was going to was the scientific aspect of this book. It was very detailed on things that were happening. I feel like I had a better understanding of how the science worked into a part that I feel like it wasn't I didn't really I could in some parts I could care less about like some of the science parts, but like I feel like I was getting invested
Mhm.
into like how the intricacies of the astrophage and the Talmiba and like how things were working and how things were kind of how they were able to like solve these problems through science and math. And like I think that was really interesting to kind of portray throughout the book. And the mix of all that, we're getting like these flashbacks, but really it was him regaining his memory because at the
Mm.
beginning of the book, it already established that he kind of woke up and he sees two people that are dead that he does not remember, and he doesn't remember why he's there in the first place. And then as the book continues, you can see him regaining his memory of why he's here and why certain things are happening. And then you kind of see him reflect on those moments. That was really kind of a good like a way to like for the reader to learn about what was happening in the past and kind of like eventually finding a middle point. So like because you know he's in space, but we don't know how or why he's in space. And then you realize the why, but then we don't know the how. And then like as the flashbacks are happening, you realize that like, okay, there's already three people on the mission, so he wasn't the first person to be chosen. So how did that happen? Right. And you just seeing the stories slowly start coming together and
Yes.
meeting in the middle of like of a story structure. I thought that was really cool to see the what I found interesting was that when the trailer came out, a lot of people were upset that they introduced the fact that Rocky was a character in the movie. Like, oh my god, they ruined like the biggest part of the book that he's interacting with an alien. And I felt like that to me, and I thought people were upset that they introduced the fact that aliens existed. But then, like the first two chapters of the book, they've already established that there's an alien presence maybe out there. Like,
Mhm.
well, the book already established at the very beginning. So like I don't think that was much of a spoiler for me, or even like a spoiler to the reader if you didn't read the book, because that was already kind of like established early in the beginning. What was the shocking part? And I don't think and I didn't really dive into the trailer that much, to be honest with you,
Same.
because I didn't really want anything to be spoiled for me because I was reading the book, about to watch the movie, all that stuff. The biggest shock for me was when I didn't really know going into the book was the relationship that he was going to have with an alien, with what we later find out is Rocky. That was a surprising aspect that I didn't think we were going into because the whole front part of this book and even the movie that for that matter was focusing on the mission.
Mhm.
We have a mission, we have a mission, we have a mission. And then all of a sudden the mission throughout the book became secondary because we're so invested in the relationship that he built with Rocky. And like the book focused on that connection that he's had with like building this friendship. Eventually it turned into a friendship. And then it cuts to like back to some of the stuff that led him up into space. But like I was so involved into this friendship and the dynamic that they had, and then like their shared investment into the mission. So now he's like, oh my God, he's alone, but now he has a friend. And so like building that relationship, building that friendship, building that connection, and also working together for a common goal, them informing each other of one thing or another, them learning from one another, like the kind of the hopefulness of like you can find friends anywhere.
Mhm.
Um, if you're just taking that aspect in there. And then to your point, like it really hits home when they have to make a decision to be like, well, our mission's done here. And you kind of see them like, like, is are you good? Are you good? And then like they separate and like you kind of have a little bit of tear in your eye, but you know they have to go back to their planet to fulfill their mission. That's the important part. And then you realize that there's an anomaly that happens with the astrophage and the Talmiba, and then you're like, oh my god, like, and then he's like, I think then you're right, he has to make the decision of what he wants to do. Do he, go back to his planet, which was already supposed to be a one-way trip anyway.
Mhm.
And for the help of Rocky, it became a round trip because he had a lot of astrophage sitting in his ship. And I think that was part of the decision making. That also I loved how the story structure in the book was, because in the book it ended on a chapter ending as like I have a decision to make. The next chapter was, so I sent the Beatles out and I'm on my way to Rocky. It was like instantly, like we
Yeah.
know what the decision is. And I was like, oh man, he's doing it. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna help his friend. And it wasn't like a whole thought process. It was like, so I sent the Beatles off, they did this, and they explained the whole process of doing all that. And then he's going out to help his friend. And now his friend, after he meets Rocky to go save him, because he knew he wasn't going to be able to figure out the Talmibo thing, and Grace was able to pick up on it ahead of time, and essentially saving his planet in the process. Like he knew that he couldn't like bear with the fact that not only that his friend was going to die, but his whole planet, the whole species was not going to survive with that as well. So he made the ultimate sacrifice to then basically get a flash forward of like them figuring it out, of him living on his planet to survive. Really just brings a tear to my eye when listening to basically the epilogue of the story. And then like having the council of the Iridians coming together and be like, hey, we have something to show you. We saw that the star is brighter. That means, without really knowing for sure, but we, based off the science and what we can tell, like we know that your planet survived because the star got brighter, and the only way it was going to get brighter is if they followed your instructions and if the Talmiba made it back to Earth. And for him to have that, like that satisfying moment without actually us needing to go back to Earth in a flashback or a flash forward to get that realization, but him finding it there was all the information you needed. And then for him to go and have that conversation with Rocky's like, well, you can go home now if you technically want to. And he was like, I'll think about it, but I think I'm going to stay. And then what really got me was then, like, as the inner monologue was happening and he leaves Rocky, he's like, I'm gonna, I gotta go. And then to the readers, like, he's like, all right, now, but he's like, I still need to think about it. But for now, I have work to do. Going down the hallway, turn on the lights, and you have all these I guess these little Iridians in a classroom. Wait, and like for him to be the teacher to the next generation, but not necessarily of Earth, of humans, but for the Iridians, for an alien race. It just brought a tear to my eye because like he was very much established to be a teacher at like this whole time, and then he still gets to do that, but just for a different race. And that was such a beautiful ending. And also, what a shocking moment to go back a little bit when he realizes, like when the audiences and the reader realizes that he didn't go to space willingly. To me, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God, he went kicking and screaming. He didn't want to go at all. And Sandra Hüller's character had to make the difficult decision to be like, and just how her character was, that like that was like, hey, this wasn't a debate. You're going up there. You're the most qualified, and we need to save the human race. So I'm sorry about your feelings, but you're gonna get over it. And basically had to sedate him and basically have him go to sleep and speak and just go on a whole launch. It was kind of crazy of that, like of this twist, because nothing alluded to the fact that he was not going to be willingly going to space. You would just think that he would just take up the challenge to do that, but instead he didn't. And like to see that how he got up there, but then realizing throughout the whole story of him questioning his ability, he was the right man for the job, not because he knew more than other scientists, was because the relationship that he was able to build with people was the reason why he was the right person for the job, as well as his smarts. To your point, this is the most interesting and well written, well detailed story that I've ever listened to in an audiobook. And I thought the audiobook was so well done, with Ray Porter as the voice, and as well as, providing the voice for Rocky as well. It was an incredible book. And with all that, diving into the movie.
I just want to say one more thing about just kind of connected to the ending. I just think it was so important that, like, we talked about space dilation and time dilation and all that, where he doesn't find this out. When he finds this out, he's like an old man. Like, he's already aged. Like, he's almost, I think they said he was in like his 60s. Like he was already an old man at this point. So he's already gone through so much time already, not knowing what happened. And we even get that realization when he kind of says to himself, is like, Earth made it, feeling accomplished with his mission, that he was able to do the thing that he set out there to do. And he was able to do it. But it wasn't until that moment that he actually got the relief that Earth had made it. And I just thought that it was important. It's important to know. I just felt like it was an important part of the book, of the ending.
And also now he's that realization, he's now the hero of 2 planets.
Yeah.
Without ever really getting his flowers on the other end of that.
He didn't even want it. He went. No. He unwillingly went and became a savior of both worlds.
Yes, which is another topic. Yeah, I mean, that's just an incredible aspect of the story. But at the end of the day, this movie, this story was about friendship,
Yes.
not about the mission. And I think that to me was the most surprising aspect of it. So now going into the movie, before we compare the two, I know it's gonna be hard, but I want to save the comparing for afterward. But the movie itself, how do you feel about the movie itself without comparing it to the book? I know it's gonna be hard to do that, but kind of want to get like some of the stuff out of the way before we start going back and forth in comparison.
Okay, so let's just pretend I never read the book. Let's just say
Yes.
the movie on its own merit is good. It's a great movie. I feel like it hits a lot of the beats that are happening in the book. You do get a lot of those moments. I do feel like, as far as like visually, it's beautiful. Like there's just so much to appreciate there. I do feel like some of it was lost on me because I had to see it in 70 millimeter. So I feel like some of the aspect ratio changes, like we're supposed to get this change when we go from space to flashbacks. I felt like I got a little bit of it, but I didn't feel like I got the full force of what I was supposed to experience. But I thought it was really good. It tells the story. You do get a lot of great moments. I mean, Rocky on film looks great. I thought that,
Yes.
as far as like how they composited him, I thought they did a really good job. The digital composition looks really good. I mean, you can't really complain with that. I thought like how him and Ryan Gosling interacted with each other was really funny, and I feel like they got a lot of their relationship in that happens in the book. It did take place in the movie, like when he's doing the recordings, when he's recording himself. And
Yes.
he's whispering like this, and you hear Rocky like responding in normal volume. He's like, I just can't get anything done in here. I got nothing to do in here. I got all this,
Yeah.
I got all this space, and he's always all over me. Like I felt like, you know, they made him come off as like an annoying little brother, and I think that translated well for them as far as like a pair on film.
Yeah, and to your point, I thought that what this movie did really well was, to your point, visually. This movie looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like when we start going into space, is one thing that I feel like I feel like that was way better translated in the movie naturally is visually, because obviously we have some visual aid to what was
Mhm.
happening, and a lot of the action set pieces really worked for this movie.
Mhm.
Like when he was basically going fishing and
Mhm.
capturing the Talmiba in that whole space vortex of the Talseti. It
Beautiful.
was beautiful. The score, Daniel Pepperton's score in this whole movie, nailed it, man.
Yeah.
He got the essence of it really well. Specifically with that scene. I've listened to the score once over, and the fishing scene is about a 7-minute long score. The whole 7 minutes is a fucking banger. I was like, oh my god, it's so good. I this is the same guy who did into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. And I told you a couple years ago, this man should have won an Oscar for that, for his score. So I'm hoping now that the popularity of this movie, and this movie's already looked at as being an early contender for 2027 Oscar season, he should definitely start looking at, as rightfully so, of his getting composer credit at the Oscars next year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It was so good.
Yeah, visually this movie looks gorgeous, and I do agree with you. I think they really nailed the relationship between Grace and Rocky. Like I think between Ryan Gosling and like James Ortez, or just the dialogue, the script, they really nailed it. Like the same comedic beats that I felt like in the book was basically the same in the movie, if not funnier.
Yeah.
Because they just had a little bit more to work with, and they did a little bit more liberties with, like, I think like there was a point in the movie where he was talking and recording all of like the stuff to send back, almost like a like you know he was logging what he was
Yeah.
doing. That was kind of like the inner monologue version of the book, kind of. And
Yeah.
like, and I think that was like a really good, like, funny beats. There was like the like don't go crazy room in the movie that I thought worked really well to kind of showcase Rocky, how things were like in Earth. I don't think that concept was ever in the book, that's
Yeah.
my understanding. So that was a really good visual aid for it as well. And I think the beginning parts of the flashback really worked when we're trying to understand, the starting of it all and the relationship that he built with the security guard.
Yes.
And like though that back and forth, that was like really funny moments of the astrophage kind of falling away and basically doing a really good job of doing the same thing that the book was doing, with kind of translating that moment. And I do think, and I think that's what we're transitioning to now. If we had never read the book,
Yeah.
this movie would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
However,
it's not bad.
It's
I
not
think,
bad.
Let me start with that. It is not it is a great movie. It's a great movie. It's 2.5 hours long, and it held my attention the entire time. So let's
Yeah.
start there. But
Yeah, and
now we're talking about comparing the novel to the movie, which
Yes.
I feel like the movie is a great highlight reel of what the book is. Like, it hits a lot of the beats, but it doesn't get into like the nitty gritty of like what the book is really about. Something that I just and kind of bothered me is that at the end of the movie, Ryan Gosling's not old. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is it an immediate thing? Why not age him and make him old so that it still hits the fact that he had to wait a long time to find out if his Earth didn't make it. They also didn't do the whole thing with the gravity on his planet being different, showing that he's having a struggle and that he's being deteriorated. But they also did have to taper down a lot of the science stuff, probably just to fit it within the time window of that they have, which is still a long runtime.
It is, but also to me, that was a big loss for the movie.
Oh,
Was
I
that
agree.
the book heavily detailed a lot of the scientific stuff, and we got like not even like 20%
I mean,
of it. Like we like the science. There's so much science talk in the book that made me fully understand exactly what was going on. We got like 4 sentences to get us by to move on. Like, and I was like, oh man, there's a lot more to this that I don't feel like the audience truly really understands, because we're just brushing over it. And obviously they were focusing more on the relationship between Grace and Rocky, but you're still missing out a lot of good stuff here on some of the scientific aspect of why this mission's so important. And so it
yes.
was definitely the movie focused more on the friendship, less about the severity of the mission.
Yeah, one thing I learned is making sure your measurements are correct. Otherwise, you can
Yeah.
create a nuclear blast in your lab.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
whole reason that they die is because they received the measurement of astrophage that was bigger than what they thought it was, and then when they released it, it created this massive explosion because they thought I forget what the measurement. I think it was like a nanogram, and that they were supposed to get, and they ended up getting like a milligram. So
Right.
like it was just. And then that was to emphasize how powerful astrophage was, and like I
Right.
feel like that's a really big moment in the book that it just kind of gets brushed over, which, and I guess that's kind of part, or the whole thing with the Talmiba, like we have a
Yeah.
whole couple chapters just dealing with the Talmiba, like them dealing with it up there, him going through the whole like they kind of brushed over it's a whole chapter of him figuring out how to contain the Talmiba and like
Right.
what he had to do even before he gets to Rocky. And then like I feel like in the movie we just kind of like, oh hey, Talmiba, this is what it does, but I encased it. I got it in plastic, so you're good now. It's like, but
Yeah.
like that's such a big moment in the
Yes.
book. Or another one is when he goes back to find Rocky. We get a whole like half a chapter of him like finding him. So you have this anticipation of him trying to find him and him trying to do all these different things to find him, where in the movie he just finds him.
Right. And also going back to the Talmiba, there was a long chapter of like them either like they in the movie it was like 3 sentences of dialogue is like, oh, it's the predator of the astrophage, that's why it's a living organism, blah blah blah. Whereas in the book, man, it was a long time not only to realize that it was the predator, but also like just to contain it, to like it was eating the fuel. I mean, they got there eventually, but like it
Or
was so brushed over that I feel like the emotional stakes involving the mission and Grace getting home was definitely downscaled by a lot in the movie than it was in the book.
or like what you were talking about, like to make the Talmiba was it nitrogen resistant, like how they had to make the different Talmiba farms, and like how they had to, and what he had to do to get it to the level they did. And once they did, it was like such an earned moment that they did all this work and it was and it was finally ready for them to go off. And this is obviously before they found out that the Talmiba can go through the xenonite, and that was like the big thing because Rocky's ship is entirely made of xenonite, and it goes right through it, and it would ate all the astrophage, and that's why he had to go find them. And I think they did mention that in the movie, but it's very much brushed over. We also don't get the whole thing of him like rebuilding his fuel tank. Like there's like all of that, because then that's all tied into how the Talmiba, we skipped that whole scene of where the Talmiba initially gets out and eats through his fuel line, and Rocky like has to rebuild him a whole fuel cell, and then they recontain the Talmiba, and then it's like you don't get all of that. But then that's also like in the book you have this time where you get to learn how great an engineer that Rocky is, but you don't really get that in the movie, because in the book he kind of like gushes over him, like all the stuff that he makes and how he makes it. But to me that ties into their dynamic, because Grace was the scientist and Rocky was the engineer, and it's how this unlucky pair came together is how they were able to solve the issue on both planets, because they both needed each other. They were both two pieces of the puzzle that needed to be together.
Yeah, and I think there's another aspect of that where like we realized that Rocky's crew all died, but we never really understood. The movie didn't really focus on the reason why the crew died. Where in the book it was like a big realization. It was like, oh, you were probably the only survivor because you were close to this and the other people were not. And so like I think it was, again, another moment that I was brushed over, but it was like a big deal for Rocky in the book to get that realization of like, oh, I see how that happened, as well as like not understanding space travel and how time moves in space. That was another big aspect that Rocky didn't understand.
But I think that just ties to like how both planets were at, how certain places they were similar in their technology, but certain things were like we were vastly ahead of them in certain aspects, and they were ahead of us in other aspects, and how they came together. Because Grace immediately knew, he was like, oh, his team probably died from radiation. Like that's
right.
He's like I'm just amazed that they made it here. He goes, and you just made astrophage, and they don't really talk about it in the movie, but like Rocky's planet, they made astrophage. It's so hot there that they just like threw it in the ocean, and that
and it was like multiplied. Yeah,
they had so much astrophage. Like he has so much on his, and he had so much extra on it because he thought that they were just traveling, but he didn't take into the effect of the time dilation. And I thought, only reason I harp on that is because that's an aspect of the book that I feel like reoccurs all the way into the end of the book, where Grace is an old man on this planet, where Rocky they had too much astrophage because they didn't take time dilation into effect. And then we had just enough to get there, and we had to put our people in comas because of the same fact, how this one fact created two different scenarios for these two different people who had life from the sun.
I feel like another aspect which I found really interesting was that, and I feel like this is the most thing that I like after talking with other people who watched the movie who didn't realize when they were watching the movie compared to people who read the book, was that we fully understood in the book that when he was at the very beginning, he has memory loss, also established in the movie. The flashbacks in the book was him regaining his memory as the story was going on. It was never clear in the movie that was happening, and it felt like more as a flashback. But in the context of the movie, it just you can see it as a flashback, and the movie works just as fine. But when you realize, especially emphasized in the book, that he was actively remembering like certain details that allowed him to push forward in his mission, it hits a little bit harder. And I feel like that's a small detail that could have easily been established in the movie, that they just didn't bother doing that. And almost there was an assumption that you already knew, but you didn't. And I just feel like that's like maybe some of these details that we're describing, like the movie's already 2.5 hours. Obviously, you're going to have to cut some things out. And a 2.5 hour movie is not short. So like clearly they left a lot of things in there. It's a lot of story. And also to keep it into one movie, which it should be just one movie. You should not put this into two parts. But like, obviously there were sacrifices that have to be made. But that one in particular feels like a small detail they just could have added in there to make it clear that he is actively remembering these things as the movie went on, rather than these normal flashbacks in a movie setting. Not saying it's necessarily a wrong thing, but again, with a lot of these, we have something to compare it to. So that's why it just feels like an odd decision not to make that
Well,
make that choice.
well, you bring up a good point. It's also we don't get that moment where he realizes that he's a coward. Like in the whole. But I
Yes.
feel like as much as the book is about friendship, I feel like it is about having courage to do the things that you don't want to do. I feel like I feel like that's another main theme that falls through the book, and that's a really important part of the book where he realizes that, oh, you were forced to be here, but now you're on this mission. So it kind of like we don't get that inner turmoil of growth of him as a character that we don't get that as much in the movie than we do in the book. And then when he goes back to save Rocky, that moment means more because we already have the understanding that he was a coward once, and now a coward has to make a courageous decision. And like we just don't. So for me, that's why it hits harder in the book, and it's so important in the book, whereas I feel like in the movie it's just kind of brushed over.
I feel like after we meet Rocky in the movie, a lot of the flashback scenes just feel like brushed over.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't hit as hard as it did in the book when we were actively gaining information on the story beats of the book, whereas in the movie it just felt like we were doing this because the book did it, but we weren't really focusing a lot of our attention on it. Like we did it so you can get more context. However, it doesn't hit the same. I feel like Eva Strat's character in the book was so integral.
It's so important
to the story. So important to the story. Every decision that she was making, you understood the reasons why she was doing it. So then when we get to the point where Grace says no and she forces him against his will onto the ship because he was the best person for the job, whether he liked it or not, hits so much harder in the book because in the movie it just felt like it happened. Like it's like, oh, okay, that's weird that he didn't want to go. But in the movie, in the book, it meant so much more because we understood the character of Eva Strat much more deeper in the book than we did in the movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like the movie, she was just like, I don't think it was really clear of like the important decisions that she had to make in this scenario. And I think Sandra Hüller did a great job of doing Eva Strat. I just wish she had more screen time to get the point across of the role that she actually played in this story.
Like actually a scene from the book I would have loved to have seen from the movie is when she's being called to court, and it almost seems like an inconvenience to her, because I feel like that's a really good indication of like what she's trying to do, who she is, and how much power she actually has. I feel like that's a really good scene to where it's like, all right, I'm just trying to get this over with so I can go continue back to saving the planet. And you guys, I forgot I think it was for the patent because they had acquired like all the software on the planet. And then they were being sued, and she's like, this is just a minor inconvenience. I was told I had to be here, even though this is just going to be something that I'm just going to brush off. I feel like that was a really good realization of like her power and like the decisions she has to make and like what she really worried about.
Yes, I 100% agree with you there. Like it just as we're talking about all this, and even going to the end of the story, where Grace is an old man, not established in the movie at all. Like there was, feel like no time had passed, maybe a few years, but nothing that visually striking that a lot of years have passed on there. Really not any explanation of how he's living on that planet. How, like, you understand that there's like a dome around it, but we don't understand like this food. Like they found a way to like basically clone himself, and he's basically eating human meat that he had to get over.
They don't talk
at that
about
point.
That, but we don't
talk about that
in
at all.
Movie. Yeah.
No, but I think the biggest thing in the ending of the movie that hits much harder in the book, like you can take out all the information, but I feel like there's one detail again they could have added, was him him visiting the Council of Iridians and them telling him that the star is brighter and therefore, you've saved Earth. Technically speaking, the movie version of Grace never fully knows if the mission was a success or not.
Yeah.
The audience knows because they give us a visual of Eva Strat getting the Beatles and getting to work. It's like, here's all the information you need. So as the audience, we are aware that the Beatles made it back to Earth and they're starting their work to make the world back to normal, basically. Um, and obviously, a lot of time has passed. She's on a ship. There's full of ice everywhere. I get that, and I was worried that the movie was going to give us a visual, like, showcase of that, because I feel like it lessens the impact that the book had.
Mhm.
Because the book, you learn, as well as Grace, that through, again, science or space exploration and discovery, that's how you found out. It's not for us just seeing, hey, the Beatles made it and look, she's happy and they can get to work. You found out, just like Grace, through a telescope and different technologies that they had looking into space, that we don't know for sure if Earth is better, but we do know that the sun is brighter, and we can assume that Earth is better because of it. And him realizing that, and the fact that Grace never gets that realization, or that
That relief.
that satisfaction, that relief, that Earth is saved in the movie, feels like a really odd choice. Again, focusing more on the relationship between him and Rocky rather than the mission itself, which is the biggest difference, I believe, between the book and the movie, where I think the book focused both equally. And then, because the book emphasizes that he was a school teacher first, and how much he cares about his, like, him being a teacher in the classroom, when he's teaching the little Iridians, like, in the classroom, like, who wants to learn about this? And they all raise their hand, and, like, it's such an emotional moment, where I feel like in the movie it doesn't hit the same, because we didn't really see him or really talk about being a teacher that much in the movie. We saw in the beginning and we saw at the end, but there weren't the little moments throughout the movie that made us feel like that he was really has a passion for teaching.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
in the book, like with him being on the science side and Rocky being the engineer, there's a lot of moments in the book where he's teaching Rocky stuff and Rocky showing him stuff. So you get that moment
Yes.
where he gets to be a teacher and teaching him about different things about just what he knows about space science and earth science.
Yeah. And so, like, again, it's hard to basically, and we talked about this before we started recording, when walking out of this movie, it feels like a little bit disappointment. Even
Yeah.
though, like, I mean, you can have the argument that maybe people are overhyping this movie, and I do think it's a really good movie, and I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. But when we have something to compare it to, there is just a better story there that they chose not to do. And there's some points, as we've been talking about, that we understand the reason why they didn't put these story beats in there, because for the sake of time. But then there's other parts where, like, I don't know why you made that decision. There was definitely enough time for you to either say that one line or do this direction to make it different. And I feel like I don't think that any of the decisions that were made in the movie's sake was for the better, in my opinion. There were stuff, obviously, visually, that they were able to match, as well as stuff, the relationship they were able to match. But at the end of the day, it just felt a little short. And I feel like maybe we might be able to regain some of that on a second viewing.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, there's this talk of like an extended cut that's out there. So I'd be curious to see what the extended cut has, because I think it'll give some context, and maybe it might make some of the things that we thought less of, maybe they're better, but there's still certain aspects that are still going to be there. Like at the very end, the whole ending of the movie versus the ending of the book, that's obviously not going to change.
Right.
Which is, I feel like, not, I wouldn't even necessarily say gripe, because once again, I did really enjoy this movie. It's just, it's hard not to compare it to the book. It's like, cause the book is just it's just so superior. Like there's just no other way around it. Like it's a more superior version of this story.
Yeah, and it's hard because I didn't realize that by the end of reading this, I was going to feel so emotionally attached to this book,
Yes.
that now you are very quickly going into a movie version of this. And so all of these details are still fresh in my head. And so now we have a direct comparison, and it felt like, as I was watching it felt like I was watching, like, living the story twice. And I was technically, but, like, I just felt like, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. Some of the excitement was lessened. Some of the big twists didn't happen for me, because I already knew from the context of the book. And then it makes me wonder, in a very, like, I'm kind of joking, but kind of not, in a way, to be like, this is why I don't read the book. because
That's why I don't read books.
It's not read books. They're too much better. And it to me is like I enjoy, and I very much enjoy the movie going experience and experiencing a movie. And the book ruined that for me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm saying that lightly in a way, but like I know a better version of the story, and it was in the book. And I hate that because I want that to be translated visually into a movie, but I didn't get that. So I truly think that if I watch this movie again, getting like my initial reactions out of it, or giving it some space, maybe like giving it a year or two and going back to it. And so much so that after I read the book, but before I watched the movie, I watched The Martian, the other book that he wrote, but which I did not read, and also adapted into a movie. And man, if that movie doesn't hold up, it is
good.
So good. And also, like, surprisingly, it kept up with the science really well. And without reading the book, I feel like that, we would have, it was focused a lot on the science and how he was able to survive on the planet, on Mars, like a lot of the logistical things of how to get back over to save Mark Watney in the movie and Matt Damon. That movie is so good. Like, I was having such a good time rewatching that movie. Mainly because I was coming off the high of reading and listening to Project Hail Mary. So even coming off of those two, like watching that movie, reading that book, and then now watching this movie, it just doesn't compare. And I'm very curious what my thoughts would have been if I didn't read the book. Like, we'll be having a different conversation. Clearly we would be, but like, will we like be over the moon of this movie if we just didn't read the book? We would never know.
I think so. I think we would have because we would have gotten highlights of what we got in the book. So I think it would have been enough to have this deep interest to want to further read, to then want to go read the book. You know what I mean? Like, where I feel like there was enough there where it would have kept us interested, and I think we would have enjoyed it because we would have been blissfully ignorant to the book and how much superior the book is.
And you know what's funny? I know myself. If I would have watched the movie first, I wouldn't have read the book. I wouldn't have.
I was like, I know the story.
I know the story. He gets friends with a rock.
They're friends. And they like each other. They do the science.
I know if I was going to read a book based on the movie, I have to do the book first. If I'm going to do that. Yeah. Because I have a feeling that once I know, and I have like a barrier for even the Harry Potter series. A lot of people said the book is better, go back into it. But like, I'm so familiar with these movies. I don't have any care to go and read a different version of that story in the book.
Yeah, number one, they do not compare. Like, you cannot compare the Harry Potter movies to the book. They're highlights of the book. But even then, there's things that are different that are in the movie that are different from the book. So there's certain things that are in the book that aren't even in the movies, like certain storylines that don't even carry, and they're not even in the movies whatsoever. So I think and this is talking about Harry Potter, but I think when we get close to the series, I think when the new season comes out, I think I'm gonna go back and reread the books. But that's like my childhood, I remember
books or the movies.
The books. I went to the book 7 midnight release at Barnes and Nobles. I was getting off at work. There were people. We were in line. There was a long line of people to go get a book, and there were people hanging out of their cars, holding book 7 in their hands, like screaming. I remember going home and reading like a bunch of chapters before I went to bed. This is the middle of the night. I had just worked all day, and I'm sitting reading a children's book in my bed. But I have a it is a lot to tie it into my love for books and just narratives in general with the Harry Potter series.
And I feel like for me, the movies, very similar to you in the books, were such a part of my childhood that I don't want to tarnish that by reading the book. It's a weird back and forth, and I feel like I could be missing a lot from the book, and I know that
you are.
But I don't think I can take myself to do it. Now, conversely, I don't have any ties to the Lord of the Rings franchise. There is a part of me that wants to dive into the books before I go back and do like the extended cuts of the movies, because I very much not really remembering anything in the Lord of the Rings franchise. However, from the people that I've spoken to, and I think yourself included, if you watch the extended cuts, it's a lot of the book.
It is. It is. I mean, obviously, once again,
Yeah.
the book is it's gonna be a more expanded version, but I do feel like the extended cuts are a more faithful adaptation of the books.
Sure. All right. So with that, let's talk about the box office because I feel like that's another conversation as well. Before Mario came out, it was the biggest opening of the year so far. Mario came out, and then that's no longer the case. But it held that title for a good 2 weeks. But this movie opened to $80 million domestically, and that's a pretty good start for basically a movie with a very with basically a technically it's based off of a book, but you can call it an original story, not nothing that's based off of like IP related. So like a pretty solid start for basically an original concept. But the movie, like I said, opened to $80 million, opens number one. At the time of this recording, it has made $229
Mm.
million domestically, $203.9 million internationally, with a grand total of four. Why do I feel like that's not right? It's not right. Let me start over. Yeah, I'm reading. I did not refresh the page. So, like I said, it opened to $80 million and it had number one in the box office. At the time of this recording, it has made $256.6 million worldwide, $254 million internationally, and a grand total of $510.6 million worldwide with a budget of $200 million. So I would say that definitely is on its way to making back its money. It is doing incredibly well. And I think we also had this conversation before the podcast as well. And I think I think this movie's not only doing really well because the movie's good, but I think because I think it's getting some extra boost given that the Artemis moon launch
Mhm.
and everything with the Artemis 2 is happening and the exploration of space travel happening in our own real world right now. I think it's giving people the extra like a huge interest in watching this movie, and I think people are now going out to watch this movie. Additionally to that, this movie was given the IMAX budget. So basically, a lot of these scenes were filmed with IMAX cameras. So a lot of people are going into droves, sold out theaters for the IMAX 70 millimeter cut of this movie. So a lot going for this movie, a lot of rewatchability, I'm sure, for a lot of people. And overall, this is great. So far, our 2026, definitely our spring season has been great with the box office numbers. Like we've having some great turnout with like Scream and Hoppers and Project Hail Mary and now Mario. Like people are going to the movies again and they're coming out in a big bad way, which is fantastic. So I'm happy to see that this movie has crossed the 500 million dollar mark, and it's probably not going to make it to a billion, but it's doing extremely well. It also currently sits as Amazon MGM's highest grossing movie of all time within the studio. So I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller definitely has earned their flowers with this one,
Oh,
with all the
100%.
great work that they've put out throughout the years and with all the movies they're coming out with. So, um, so with that, like I am curious to see. I don't think they're going to come out with a sequel. I think they shouldn't. I know that Andy Weir has come out and said in interviews that I think they asked him like what happened to the crew, like who died on the ship, and they said he said I'm actually holding that information for possible future installments if I choose to do so.
Oh, okay.
So interesting little tidbit there that he might explore sequels to this project. However, I'm very happy with this being a standalone.
Yeah.
I Please don't make any sequels on this. This is perfect as is. The book wise, the movies, I don't know what they're gonna do with the movies, but the movie was also fun as a standalone project. I don't think I need sequels on it. But with all of that, Ernesto, your final thoughts and dare I say your 5-star rating.
All right. Final thoughts. Okay. On the movie alone, the movie is a great highlight reel of what the book has to offer. I think it gives enough. It has enough of the narrative to where you can understand what's happening. You do get the dynamic of Grace and Rocky, and you get bits and pieces of what that looks like in the book. But to me, it's just the highlight reel of the book. Like the problem is that the book is just so good. I think that's where the issue is, that the book is so good that the movie cannot compare. But where it does compare is with its visuals, with the space scenes and some of the stuff they did with the flashbacks. I think that, to me, that's where the movie shines. And and I think you mentioned a good point where we have that room where Grace and Rocky go into, and he kind of gives him Earth, and we get a bunch of scenes in there where they're kind of just looking at different things and looking at different aspects of Earth. And I think it was him just appreciating, him being able to share what he appreciates about Earth to Rocky. And I thought that, I thought that was really well done. I thought that was really well placed in the movie. And I think as far as my 5-star rating, I'm kind of floating between a 4 and a 4.5. It is a solid movie. I mean, it's 2.5 hours long, and it's able to keep your attention for that long, and it's beautiful. Like, some of the space scenes are just so beautiful to look at.
Yeah, and what's funny, when I was like, a lot of people were giving it 5 out of 5s, and I really respect that, that rating. And I feel like we might be on the same boat if we didn't read the book. I don't want to knock it a full star just because I'm comparing it to the book.
Okay.
So I want to give it like basically a half star knock. For you know what I mean? It's like, I know a lot. Like, I think, me personally, I think a 4 is it. However, a lot of that 4 rating is because we're giving a lot of our personal experience to our experience with the book is being translated into the movie.
Yeah, and I'm trying really hard not to, but it's
I know it's
really
hard.
It's really hard.
Really hard. I don't just like, it's weird for me to say, hey, this movie's really good, but I walked out disappointed. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, I think I need to give it a few years, give it like a year or two, rewatch it, and I think I'm gonna fall in love with this movie as much as I do. So, taking my own and basically our own negative bias out of it because we're comparing it heavily to the book, I feel like, just to be fair, I have to give it a 4.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I get that. That's fair. I get that.
But yeah, I mean, but it's still a great movie. It's probably one of the best movies we've come out this year so far.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, without a doubt. And this is obviously definitely going to be early talks for Oscars next year, probably with visual effects.
Yeah. Sound design, maybe.
Sound design. I bet maybe writing, maybe adapted screenplay, maybe
adapted screenplay, maybe. I feel like for visuals, for sound, for hopefully music,
cinematography,
I feel like a lot of the technical awards is where this is going to shine a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
In here. And it definitely deserves it. It's great. We still have a lot of 2026 left, but this is up there. This is a high contender for me. And it's weird because we can come back and we do like our best of 2026. I'm not sure if this movie is going to be up there because we're comparing it to the book. You know what I mean? It's hard to do that.
I mean, that's our experience.
Sucks.
I mean,
I know
it's hard. It's hard not to. It really is.
That's why you listen to Box Office Binges, for our experience.
Yeah, we read the books, we watch the movie, and tell you go read the book.
But yeah, either way, it's a great movie. It's a great film to kind of right in the middle of the spring season and right before we get into the summer blockbuster season. So I'm happy that it's doing well and it's getting kind of reigniting. Again, not reigniting, but it's like really enforcing the movie theater experience and how important that is. And I think that's also great for this movie that it's doing that as well.
Yeah, I think what would help too is when I rewatch it is to watch it in like just a normal format.
That's probably
normal formatting, and I think I'll be able to especially appreciate some of the space stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But then very similar to how when we talk about maybe different adaptations within movies, books, even TV shows, and then even animation to live action. There's a lot of things that as we already discussed, that we didn't like about this movie because we were comparing it to the book. The best thing about that, the book still exists.
Yeah.
Like the version of the story that we like is still right there. So there was no reason for us to bash this movie because it was different. But
yeah,
we definitely had we compared it. We did our differences. So
I really tried hard not to, but
yeah.
Damn you, Andy Weir, for making the book so good.
Damn you, Andy Weir. You're such a good author.
And Ray Porter for being such a good reader.
Yeah. Thanks, Ray Porter, for reading the hell out of that book. It does make me want to. I don't think I can go back and like listen through The Martian. I don't think I can do that. However, he did come out with a book in between The Martian and Project Hail Mary, which was Artemis, which I think I might dive into because they've already talked about doing a movie about that as well. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller even said, like, I think they were attached to direct Artemis before they were attached to direct Project Hail Mary.
Oh.
And they were asked, like, hey, is this project you're still working on? And they said, yes, it's still in active development. This project just got moved forward first. So who knows? We might get this. A lot of people have said that out of the three, people go back and forth between The Martian and Project Hail Mary, but definitely Artemis is definitely like the least favorable of his three books. But they still said it was good, but not as good as The Martian and Project Hail Mary. But with that is our spoiler review of Project Hail Mary. And that is the show we have for you guys this week. Ernesto, what is the tally on that? I don't even know how long this is.
We're like almost 3.5 hours.
Fantastic. So congratulations. If you made it to the end, you have made it through what is definitely our longest episode.
Oh, it more than likely is.
More than likely. And so if you listen to the whole thing, we really do appreciate it. But if you want more from us, you can always follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X and Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads and Instagram page at Box Office_Bingers. The fun doesn't stop here. It continues on all of our social media channels. So be sure to give each one of those a follow. You can find what's new to streaming every Friday, and we will tell you what's the box office numbers every Sunday. It's a long one, but we warned you at the very beginning it was going to be. So if you listen to the whole thing, or if you went through chapters and just went through the timestamps, either way, how you listen to us, we really do appreciate it. Next week will be a mystery. We have an idea. It's probably going to be Mario, but who knows at this point? So we're just going to keep it up there, and we really just come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. I really appreciate, and we really appreciate everyone just listening to us to talk about movies. Let's just wrap this up. I'm lingering on an already long episode. For that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
Matt is lost steam. Uncle Roger needs a nap. That's what he said. He needs a nap. We need to get the fuck out of here. He's got to go to bed. He's talking all kind of crazy shit. All right. Well, he's been Matt. And I've been Ernesto.
He's rambling. Stop
rambling. Just stop talking. We're done.
Stop him before he continues to talk.
We get it. You like the book. We understand. All right, guys. Until next time. See ya.